Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku's heart was captured by a new neighbor part 2. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 3, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content. And leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. So let's start the video. Midoriya thought that high school had enough complications to juggle, with students either bragging about or worrying about the career opportunities they found. Not to mention Himiko Toga taking every chance to give Midoriya a loud hello, and Denki and Mina still being the stuck-up model couple, and the newfound, fragile opportunity to score big with Ochako now that Bakugo diverted her to Midoriya like that guy who pulls a lever to shift the train tracks. Whatever. The point was, between all that and homework, and trying to find time to take a bike ride to relax, Midoriya hardly even paid attention when the principal piled on yet another thing. "Good morning, students," the animal principal said over the intercom one morning during homeroom. "It's a very special time of year. The annual National Science Bowl competition is taking place 1 week from today, and I wish everyone luck in trying out for the team. Lodging will be provided, naturally, and I look forward to all of you representing our school in the best possible way on the national stage. That is all, and have a good rest of your day." The intercom clicked off, leaving an indifferent wake in Class 1A. "Yeah, sure, big deal," Kirishima said with a goofy shrug. "All the science geeks get together to talk about how molecules smash together to make fire in space or whatever. I don't need a white lab coat to know that." Tsuyu blinked. "No wonder you failed the last test in biology class." Kirishima whirled around to face her, veins bulging on his face. "How'd you know that, you nosy little?" "Toru told me," Tsuyu said. "She peeked at your score and thought it was funny." "Ribbit." "Well, it ain't," Kirishima roared to no one in particular. "What a brat." "Gee, I thought you didn't care about science," Gyro teased him. "Well, I wouldn't mind trying out for the team," Shoji said through one of his appendage mouths. "It might be fun." "Fun how?" Zero said with a snort. "It's like a game show, but lame. You don't even win a new car or a vacation to a tropical resort." "Oh, that would be so wonderful," Mina said with starstruck eyes, hands clasped under her chin. She looked fondly at Denki. "Hey, honey, would you take me to a private beach if you won the Science Bowl?" "I sure would, babe. Anything for my girl." Denki grinned and tried to look cool when he leaned back in his chair and struck a pose. Instead, he fell over backwards and sprawled on the floor. "Ouch, you're losing sight of the real purpose here," Tenya Ida said as he helped Denki get up. "It's not about the prizes. It's about learning more in the spirit of competition, and getting along with other schools in an academic setting." "He's right," Momo said, holding up a finger. "It's about the journey, not the destination." "Nuh-uh," Minta said. "I'd rather be on one of those human Tetris game shows. Now that would be a good time." "Hell yeah." Zero raised a fist. "I'll go on with you, Minta. Let's rock." Momo hung her head. "Please tell me you guys won't end up on the team and represent us in front of everyone." "If we win at Human Tetris, I'll sure as heck show off," Minta told her. Momo made a face. "I meant the Science Bowl team. Or we could go on foreign game shows like The Price is Right or those wilderness survival games," Zero added eagerly. "Are you guys just trying to annoy me?" Momo sighed. While everyone debated Science Bowl versus wilderness survival, Midoriya leaned closer to Ochako to be heard over that racket. "Hey, Ochako, I don't need a pocket protector or bow tie to get on that team. I think I'll try out." Ochako smiled. "That's so cool. Try your best, Deku." Midoriya felt a grin tugging at his lips as he flushed a bit. "How'd you like to try out with me?" Ochako went pink, too. You're smart. Why not? We can study together before the tryouts." "Well," Ochako scuffed her feet bashfully on the floor. "I've never done anything like this before." "Neither have I." Ochako toyed with her pencil case. "Gosh, I don't know. I'm so busy with homework, and, I should mention," Aizawa added over the general chit-chat, "that there's a guide video about the Science Bowl's location. Everyone on the team will be allowed to stay there overnight. All expense paid. Thank Principal Nezu for that." Everyone finally shut up when Aizawa searched online for the video, and he pulled down a white screen so the digital projector could display it. "The Ridgeview Lodge," the voiceover said. "A dream come true for any tourist visiting the Tohoku region. Placed right in the heart of Akita. This modern hotel has over 300 rooms and amenities for businessmen, families, tourists, and more." Midoriya sat there in stunned silence as the video showed off the massive indoor bathhouses, the fancy rooms, the restaurant and bar, a rec area with weights, ping-pong tables, and even Dance Dance Revolution, plus the room service, and noise-proof walls, and this, and that. By the time Aizawa shut off the video, the class had erupted. "Yeah, science is the best," Kirishima hollered. "Let's go, Team Science. I want to be an astronaut," Minta blurted, waving his arms. "Me too," Yama put in. "The Science Bowl will be in the hotel's ground floor, in the auditorium," Aizawa said flatly. "Tryouts are tomorrow after class lets out." Anyone is free to attend, but the bar is set very high. Big deal. I'm doing this for science. Hiroshima cried with his hands cupped over his mouth. How about it? Midoriya asked 𝗀𝗀𝗄 with a sly grin. Care to study with me? 𝗀𝗀𝗄 beamed again and gave 2 thumbs up just like Denki often did. Yeah. Midoriya's mind was definitely not on his classes as he waited for lunch when he promised 𝗀𝗀𝗄 that he'd study with her. Who cared about this other stuff? Now was his chance to show off. Probably. Midoriya didn't even feel hungry when he got his lunch tray and hurried over to the table where 𝗀𝗀𝗄 was already sitting. He sat across from her, almost bouncing up and down in his seat. Deku, 𝗀𝗀𝗄 said warmly. I got this book at the library. Do you think it'll help? I hope it does. She unzipped her backpack and pulled out what looked like the King Kong of science books, and the whole table shuddered when she set it down. Midoriya stared in shock at that book. That thing has its own gravity well. Hey, do you think the theory of relativity might come up in the science bowl? Let's hope so. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 took a bite of her lunch and opened the mammoth book to a random page, using her finger to track down interesting tidbits. Her eyes lit up. Okay, answer this. How many kilometers away is the sun from the earth? Midoriya set his jaw as he tried to wrangle with that one. I think it's about 15 million kilometers away. Right. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 made a bracing smile. Deku. If the sun was that close, we'd all burn to a crisp. Not unlike these veggies. She toyed with the obviously overcooked vegetables on her tray with dismay. Midoriya winced. What's the real answer? 150 million kilometers. You left out a poor zero. Okay, you got me. Try another. Sure thing. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 nodded when she found something. I'm sure you'll get this. The name of a rapid rise of coastal water that accompanies the arrival of a cyclone. Crap. So much for showing off. Midoriya took a sip of his drink and summoned all his nerd brain power. It's called a storm tide. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 giggled. So close. It's a storm surge. Midoriya looked over when he heard approaching footsteps. And speaking of storms, Deku, new girl. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 had a fiery aura about him, his teeth sharp as he curled his fingers like claws. Have you been goofing off all morning? I didn't see you cramming for the science bowl in modern lit class or algebra. You're using lunch to catch up. Why not? Midoriya scowled. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 gestured wildly, ignoring the people who pointed and giggled at him. We gotta win, Deku. That's why we're gonna get on the team. To crush those stupid other schools who think they're so smart. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 looked confused. But Momo and Tenya were saying how the spirit of competition is. No, in it to win it. Eyes on the prize. To the moon or bust. Go for gold. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 declared. How many cliches do I need to make my point? I need you both to put your game faces on. See, another cliche. Kaken, relax. We'll do fine, Midoriya said. I swear I'll study at home. You too, right, 𝗀𝗀𝗄? 𝗂𝗵𝗲 nodded. I'll hit the books tonight, Katsuki. Promise. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 cooled off, but he didn't look convinced. How late are you gonna stay up? Midoriya shrugged. Maybe 11 or something. Hard to say. What? That's it. Fine. How late are you gonna stay up? Midoriya put his hands on his hips. Check this out. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 opened his school bag to reveal the Red Bull drinks, power bars, stress ball, and exercise headband inside. This is what dedication looks like, guys. I also made a mixtape of motivational music. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 giggled. It sounds more like you're training for a dance competition. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 rolled his eyes. Mock me if you want, 𝗀𝗀𝗄, but let's say I'll be right there when the rooster crows. Ain't no other school that's gonna beat me. What about Shikzu High School? Midoriya said, suddenly breaking into a cold sweat. Those guys won the last 3 science bowls in a row. 𝗵𝘃𝗄's devil aura returned and he put on his headband. What about it? Streaks are meant to be broken. Let's see them try and stop me. Katsuki 𝗵𝘃𝗄. Tenya marched over, his eyes stern behind his glasses. I cannot have you making a scene in the cafeteria. This is a place for casual dining and chit-chat, not oaths to demolish other schools and trivia. Please do not disrupt the peace here. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 cooled off his aura again but kept his headband on. Fine, whatever. You trying out for the team too, Ada? Why, yes. Ada saluted, glancing up. I am confident that I can make it. The vice president was kind enough to give me words of encouragement. If she believes in me, then I must be up to the task. 𝗀𝗀𝗄 made a sly smile. Who, Momo? I think she has a thing for you, Tenya. Ada flinched. What? 𝗵𝘃𝗄 blinked. For real? Ada started doing his weird gestures again. Enough nonsense. Please return to your seats and enjoy your lunch at once. He marched off, and like 𝗵𝘃𝗄, ignored the people mocking him. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 sighed. Why is everyone here totally nuts? That's what I wonder sometimes. Kaken, Midoriya said, eyeing the other boy's unnecessary headband. Sorry, but if I pull an all-nighter I'll enter zombie mode for sure. Denki once saw it and ran away screaming. Did someone say my name? Denki popped in out of nowhere, his arm around Mina's waist. I'm trying out, too. Science is my game. 𝗵𝘃𝗄 snorted. What's Newton's first law of motion? That an object in motion resists the force vectors and acceleration to the gravity. Mina glanced at her boyfriend. I don't think that was right. Mina, what do you call it when a solid transitions directly into a gas? Midoriya politely challenged her. Mina gasped and raised her hand. Well, I know. Super melting. Bakugo hung his head. It's sublimation. You guys sure bring down the average IQ around here. Whatever, bro. Denki kissed his girlfriend's cheek. We're gonna get snacks from the vending machine. Want anything? Only one thing. Bakugo clenched both fists. To crush 𝐒𝐽𝐽 High School once and for all. Denki rolled his eyes. And that's our cue to leave. Come on, babe, forget this crowd. He and Mina turned and made a beeline right for the vending machine at the far wall. Midoriya made a funny face. He sure talks like a big rock star now that he's with Gyro's mom's band. Forget him, Bakugo said. Remember, you guys only have until tomorrow at 3:30 when class is over. I need you ready for the tryouts no matter what. It's okay. Midoriya started when yet another person interrupted. Oh, what's this? A blonde boy from Class 1B strode over, a scornful look on his face. Class 1A thinks it's entitled to all the glory. That's the biggest science book I ever saw. Trying to show off again. Ochako looked politely confused as she glanced down at her library book. Well, I think it'll help. The boy, whom Midoriya recognized as 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝐻, laughed cruelly. Yeah, I bet it will. Some of my classmates wanted to borrow it, but too bad that's the library's only copy. He made a mocking shrug. I guess you guys think we're trash compared to you. It's a shame that such arrogance is how our school will represent itself at the Science Bowl. Ochako looked hurt. Hey, mister. He's 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝐻, Bakugo said with distaste. Ochako cleared her throat. 𝗏𝗄𝐻, I didn't mean to offend you. I mean, I just want to do well. You're new, so I guess I can forgive you, Nito said. Look, around here, Class 1A is made up of conceited jerks and everyone else can't stand it. You've got a target on your back, new girl. Ochako winced and looked like she was on the verge of tears. Furious, Midoriya bolted to his feet. Don't you talk to her like that, he roared. Take that back. What for? Nito retorted. I'm giving her fair warning. Apologize to her right now. Deku, it's okay, Ochako said softly. Forget it. Beat it or else, Nito, Bakugo growled. I don't mind another detention, if you get my drift. Before anyone could say anything else, Itsuka Kendo showed up and conked Nito on the head with her math book. Nito went dizzy, gurgling vaguely from his throat. Sorry about that, Itsuka said. He's just in a bad mood. I hope you guys do well at tryouts. I'm gonna try out, too. Sure, Bakugo grunted. Just get that worm out of here. Itsuka gave everyone a bracing smile and guided the loopy Nito away. Ochako, I'm sorry. I should have warned you about him, Midoriya said hastily once he sat down. Are you all right? I'm okay, Deku. Ochako smiled. Thank you, though. You've got to stand up to him, Bakugo told her, or he'll never stop giving you crap. Some of those other 1B punks might go after you, too. Ochako shook her head. I got in trouble at my last school when I stood up to a bully and hit him. My parents didn't like how I got suspended, even though they thought I was right to do something. Midoriya impulsively reached out and held her hand in both of his. Ochako, it's always right to stand up to bad people. I don't want to see you get hurt. Ochako looked down at Midoriya's hands and blushed. Deku, Aoyama, who sat nearby, gave everyone a sly look. Oh, what's this? Has courtship begun? Oh la la, cram it, dumbass, Bakugo snapped at him. Aoyama merely grinned and returned to his lunch. Deku, your hands. Ochako said awkwardly. Sorry. Midoriya withdrew his hands. Okay, this is getting lame. Bakugo gently shook his school bag in his hands for emphasis. Get yourselves ready, guys. Don't disappoint me. He turned and stalked off. Midoriya blushed. Now you can see how competitive everyone is around here. He was still mentally savoring the feel of Ochako's warm hand in his. Ochako smiled again. Yeah, it's like an adventure. Sure. Ochako patted her book. Time for more studying. Okay, I'll get the questions right this time. That was precisely when the end of lunch bell decided to ring. Bummer. Oops, time for class. Ochako grunted as she heaved the gravity well-generating book into her bookcase, and she stood up with Midoriya. We have Japanese next, right? Yeah, see you there. Ochako hesitated, then blushed bright red and glanced away. Deku. What? Thanks for standing up for me. No one's done that before. She fidgeted, acting more girly than Midoriya had ever seen her. I gotta go. Ochako blushed a shade deeper and scampered off. Midoriya was left standing there, wondering if the high school gods were giving him a blessed opportunity, or if they were just screwing with him. There was no real way to tell. Story of my life. Midoriya was sweating bullets when the tryouts for the Science Bowl team reached the final few minutes, and boy was the pressure on. Coach Toshinori Yagi had volunteered to act as the host, and while his booming voice was great for asking questions, the classroom seemed to shrink around Midoriya little by little. He was just one of 50 students in here, all using buzzers to ring in and answer the questions rapid fire. Any minute now. Next question. Coach Yagi drew a card from the thin stack. Into what acid is glucose broken down in the first stage of carbohydrate metabolism? 𝗏𝗱 Todoroki buzzed in. Pyruvic acid, he said calmly. Yes, very good, young Todoroki. Coach Yagi gave the boy a quick salute and flexed his pecs again. You're on fire today. And not from that quirk of yours. This would take half the time if he didn't keep throwing in comments like that. Midoriya complained in his head. But he dare not disrupt things at this stage. He had answered some solid questions, but there were only 8 slots for the team. He'd have to get at least the lowest one, or. Next question. We're almost there, boys and girls. Coach Yagi read the card. Resolution of any microscope is ultimately limited by what? Momo buzzed in. The wavelength of the light. Yes, wonderful, young Monsieur Yarazu. I think we might also be thinking along the same wavelength, Coach Yagi said genially, while Bakugo actually slammed his head on his desk in frustration. We're almost there, Kaken, Midoriya thought. He felt his palms sweating and he fought the urge to take another peek at Ochako to see if she looked as nervous as he felt. He had to trust her to handle himself, and trust himself to not have a panic attack and fry his brains from pressure. Okay, what living creatures is most likely to have evolved from the trilobite? Coach Yagi asked. Sound off, kids. Oh, Kirishima buzzed in. Is it spiders? Coach Yaga's dazzling smile widened. Are you asking me or telling me, Buster? Spiders. Final answer for 10,000 yen. A few people giggled. Yagi shook his head. I'm sorry, young Kirishima, but that answer was wrong. Toru buzzed in. Well, I think it's sea stars, she cried. What a creative answer, young Miss Hagakure. Yagi boomed. I like the way you think. So was that it? Toru asked eagerly. That answer was. Yagi drew a breath. Wrong. Then hurry up and say that. Bakugo roared. Damn old man. A few students gasped at that, but Coach Yagi didn't look bothered. Why not buzz in and try it, young Bakugo? Bakugo nearly snapped his buzzer in half and he bared his teeth. It's millipedes, he grated. Millipedes, that is the. Yagi took another breath, then did a dramatic pose. Absolutely correct answer. Hurry up and move on. Bakugo snapped. I gotta get the next one too. Very well. Last question. Coach Yagi looked over the card. Drumroll, please. There was none. Coach Yagi shook his head. Then we'll end this with a whimper. Ladies and gentlemen, whose principle or law states that each point on a wavefront may be considered a new wave source. This time, Bakugo actually snapped his buzzer in half in his haste to answer, but meanwhile, Tenya Edo was just a millisecond faster, and the class rep actually stood up and saluted Coach Yagi. Coach, it is Hygen's principle. At that, Coach Yagi tossed the card aside and struck yet another pose. And Midoriya could have sworn he saw a shaft of heavenly light shining on the man. That answer, it stirs my very soul. Oh, young Ada, how magnificent you are. Was it right or wrong? Everyone cried at once. Yagi flashed his most dazzling smile yet. That answer was correct. He did a stage bow. And with that, the tryouts are complete. Allow me to now check the scoreboard. He sat down to check the laptop positioned on the desk and he studied the screen, nodding and going to himself a few times as though contemplating a wine list. Bakugo, meanwhile, was trying to put his broken buzzer back together. Does anyone have any super glue? He asked meekly. I don't want to have to pay the school back for this hunk of junk. I am sorry, Katsuki Bakugo, but I have no super glue to lend you at this time. Ada recited, bolting to his feet. Please forgive me. He bowed. Momo giggled. It's okay, Tenya. You don't have to show off. This is Bakugo's own foolish fault. Bakugo whirled around with his rage face on. You really want to do this, rich girl? He thundered. Coach Yagi ignored the antics and instead slowly stood up. The results. They're in, he said dramatically. Everyone's gaze fell on him in a dead hush. You could hear a pin drop. Coach Yagi rapidly pointed at exactly 8 students. Momoge Yarazu, Tenya Ida, Shoto Todoroki, Itsuka Kendo, Izuku Midoriya, Meihatsum, Katsuki Bakugo, and Ochako Uraraka. Congratulations. You made the team. Bakugo leaped to his feet and threw out both arms. Woo-oh, victory. Kiss my ass, Shikzu High School. A few students burst out laughing. Dude, they're not even here, Kirishima said with a snort. And all you did was get on the team. Bakugo clenched a fist and made his usual I'm gonna destroy everyone face. Yeah, but now that I'm on the team, the entire country will tremble under my fury. That science bowl is as good as won. No question can stand in my way. Shikzu will rue the day they. Momo bopped him on the head with her pencil case. I think I will rue the day you make a fool of our high school in front of our peers, she said, trying to look lofty and failing. You're such a pain sometimes, Katsuki. Bakugo made a shark-like smile. Hey, you can't talk down to me, princess. We're on the same team. I earned my spot. Midoriya knew just what to do. Hey, Kaken, the new issue of Shonen Jump comes out today. he said. Let's take our bikes over to the manga shop downtown and get some sodas on the ride home. 𝗵𝗃𝐻𝐽's fiery aura vanished on the spot and he adopted a calm, cool demeanor as he politely coughed into his fist. Why, of course, my friend. Momo looked stunned. Teach me how to do that, Izuku, if you don't mind. Sorry, Momo. Midoriya grinned as he took hold of 𝗵𝗃𝐻's shoulders and steered the other boy to the exit with the other students swarming around them. That's a trade secret. I'll pay you 10 million yen. Green yen signs floated around Midoriya as an angelic chorus swelled up. Now that's an interesting offer, Deku. Let's go. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 snapped. I need some fresh air here. Roger that, Captain. Midoriya gave Momo a bracing smile over his shoulder as he escorted 𝗵𝗃𝐻 out of the room before the other boy erupted again. 20 minutes later, Midoriya was riding his bike with 𝗵𝗃𝐻 to the manga shop on the west side of town when Midoriya realized something. Hang on, Kaken, he said, his eyes widening. Huh, what? I never congratulated Ochako for making the team with us, Midoriya groaned. She worked so hard to study with us, and I didn't give her a hey, great job for it. Oh, right. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 coasted down a hill and Midoriya pedaled to catch up. Look, you'll have plenty of chances to tell her that in the next few days until the Science Bowl. Do you have an idea, Kaken? 𝗵𝗃𝐻 gave him a wide grin. Clear your schedule, Deku. Until the 10th of this month, you're all mine. Huh. Katsuki, you said that you were only bringing a few friends. Whack. 𝗵𝗃𝐻's mom slapped him on the top of the head with supersonic force when Midoriya and the other Science Bowl team members stepped into the 𝗵𝗃𝐻 household's living room. Midoriya winced. His own mom would never hurt a fly. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 rubbed the top of his head. Yeah, and I did. What are you complaining about? Mrs. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 made a fist, her expression just like her son's. If I knew you were bringing half the class in here, I would have prepared snacks and tidied up the place a little more. Who cares? We only need the dining room. Geez, have a little consideration for once, Katsuki. You're totally overreacting. By some miracle of strength, Mrs. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 punted 𝗵𝗃𝐻 clear into the adjacent dining room, then turned to her guests and instantly became a warm and inviting housewife. She made a polite bow. Welcome, I'm Mitsuki 𝗵𝗃𝐻. I hope you enjoy your stay, kids. The crumpled heap known as Katsuki 𝗵𝗃𝐻 complained from the dining room floor. Mom, daylight's burning. We have to study for the Science Bowl and beat stupid 𝗓𝗍 High School. Mitsuki sighed. That's all you've been talking about, Katsuki. 𝗓𝗍 this, 𝗓𝗍 that. When I was your age, I got along with others a little better. That's how I met your father. Where is he? Momo asked politely. Upstairs in his study, working on a big project for work, Mitsuki said fondly. She put a hand over her heart. Bless that man. How'd you meet him? Meihatsum asked eagerly. Is he like 𝗵𝗃𝐻 or totally different? My Masaru is the gentlest soul, Mitsuki said, now with both hands over her heart. I met him while I interned at the clothing shop where he worked. Some time later, well, we made a household together. That's not how Dad tells it, 𝗵𝗃𝐻 grumbled from the floor. You nagged the crap out of him until he finally went out with you. Mitsuki's fiery aura snapped back into place. I'm trying to be romantic here, Katsuki. Do you have to ruin everything? Maybe I do. Midoriya stepped forward and motioned with both hands, a nervous smile on his face. Mrs. 𝗵𝗃𝐻, sorry there's so many of us, but I promise we'll be quiet. We just want to study for the Science Bowl, and 𝗵𝗃𝐻 invited us here to work on it. Mitsuki cooled off again and made another little bow. Of course, my dear boy. The dining room is all yours. I'll bring tea. Thank you. Ochako clapped her hands together and smiled. Let's do this, guys. Midoriya scraped 𝗵𝗃𝐻 off the dining room floor, and the 8 of them settled in for some serious study time. And 𝗵𝗃𝐻 wasn't kidding about getting serious. He unloaded not 1, but 4 massive encyclopedias, along with science textbooks and even brochures and pamphlets from local museums. Okay, it's 3:46. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 said, checking his smartphone's clock feature. I don't care if you're tired from class today. It's time to absorb every scrap of data into our brains. And to do that, a wicked grin crossed his face. We're splitting into pairs, and the winning team gets this. He pulled out a wallet and slammed a 1,000 yen note on the table. Momo blinked. We're competing for a prize. Katsuki, that's a bit tacky. No, it's fun. Mei dug around in her purse and also slapped down a 1,000 note. Come on, guys, feed the pot. Feeling kind of silly, Midoriya reluctantly joined in, and now 8,000 yen beckoned as the prize. So, the teams. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 rubbed hands together. Itsuka, you're with me. Shoto, pair up with Mei. Momo and Ada, you're a team. And Deku, you're with Ochako. Nice. Midoriya caught Ochako's eye and smiled. He felt himself go pink. Let's do our best, he said awkwardly. Whoa, did Mrs. 𝗵𝗃𝐻 turn up the thermostat to 90? It was hot in here. Very well. I shall do all I can to support my team. Ada barked, snapping into a rigid pose in his seat. Momo, let us compete with great vigor. Momo giggled and hid her mouth behind her hand. Tenya, it's all right. I just want to study my hardest with you, partner. Midoriya wasn't sure, but it looked like Momo was making a wide smile from behind her hand, and she was definitely fidgeting in her seat. Ada relaxed and dragged the nearest science book closer. He cleared his throat. All right, partner. Are you ready? I'm always ready. Great. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 flipped to a random page and took a deep breath. First question. An open ocean community is also known as a what? I brought tea. Mrs. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 burst onto the scene, carrying a tray of 8 tea mugs. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 winced. Mom, busy here. A thank you would be nice. Mrs. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 roared, and she set 𝗂𝐭𝐲's mug down pretty hard in front of him. Fine, thanks. Midoriya avoided everyone's eyes and instead took a sip. This tea was pretty good. Okay, have a good time, kids. Mrs. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 was back to friendly as she left the room, waving to everyone. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 got right back into battle mode. So, who's got the answer? Ida's hand shot up. A pelagic community. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 nodded. Got it. 1 point for 𝗳𝗂𝗧𝗏 team. All right. Momo blushed and clapped a few times. Ada gave her a sidelong look. It's just one question. Oh, I know. Momo pretended to look lofty as she checked her book for a good quiz question. Which energy source does not originate from the sun? Wind, geothermal, hydroelectric, or ocean thermal energy conversion? Shoto casually raised his hand. Geothermal. Very good, Shoto. Momo smiled. 1 point for you. Our turn, Deku. Ochako searched her book. Okay, guys, in Einstein's universe, what is the 4th dimension? Itsuka Kendo raised her hand. I know this one. It's time. Yeah, Ochako beamed. Good one. Now the Shoto Mei team had to offer a question. Shoto searched a book for a question, but Mei took charge and asked one first. Hey guys, what are the smallest formed elements of human blood? Everyone took a second to think this over. Midoriya thought back to biology class, rapidly flipping through everything he'd learned when he wasn't playing hangman with 𝗂𝐭𝐲 or Denki. 𝐒𝐻𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵. Oh, Midoriya shot his hand up. Platelets. Yeah, go Deku. Mei clapped. You're such a smarty pants. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 took a sip of tea. So, 1 round in. And we're all tied at 1 point each. Find some harder questions, guys. And we'll see who has the guts to survive. 2 hours later, though, it was getting hard to tell which team had the most guts, because every team was tied at 86 points each. I'm tired, Mei groaned, resting her head in her arms on the table. Can't we call it a draw? But we're not done, 𝗂𝐭𝐲 told her. A team's gotta reach the point limit to win. That's when we find out who's the smartest. Momo raised her eyebrows. And what is the score limit, may I ask? 500. Midoriya nearly had a heart attack. Kaken, we'll be here until breakfast. Grab a Gatorade, buddy. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 flipped through his book. Let's see. To heck with that. Mei sprang to her feet. All smiles. She rubbed her hands together. I got a peek at that awesome home entertainment system you've got, 𝗂𝐭𝐲. Can we have a party and watch a nice movie? Can we, please? 𝗂𝐭𝐲 blinked. What? That sounds wonderful. Ochako beamed and got to her feet too, pushing her chair back into place. 𝗂𝐭𝐲, can we get some snacks? But 𝗂𝐭𝐲 looked like he had a lemon crammed down his throat. Midoriya got up and patted 𝗂𝐭𝐲's back. Come on, Kaken. We did a great job. Let's kick back. We earned it. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 muttered a few incomprehensible things before he finally sighed and nodded. You punks aren't gonna keep playing anyway. Fine, take your cash back, and I'll ask my mom if you can stay a bit more. He took a deep breath. Mom, can my friends stay over some more? It took Mrs. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 just a split second to respond. Why? Is something wrong? They want to have a party in the living room. Excuse me, please, until like 9 o'clock or something. Fine, but not 1 second later. I have an early morning tomorrow and I need peace and quiet. Okay, thanks. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 powered down his industrial strength vocal cords. Fine, let's have that party. He clearly wanted to study like a champ. But heck, it was 7-on-1, and not even Katsuki 𝗂𝐭𝐲 could handle those odds. So, Midoriya settled on one of the 2 leather couches with Momo and Ochako without even realizing what he was doing. Midoriya felt himself go totally red. Here he was, sandwiched between 2 beautiful girls, one of whom was the neighbor girl of his dreams, right here in the comfort of the 𝗂𝐭𝐲 household. He tried not to break into a nervous sweat. Ochako made a sympathetic noise. Deku, you're so warm and clammy. Are you getting a cold? And no, I'm fine, I swear. Meanwhile, 𝗂𝐭𝐲 brought over a bunch of random snacks from the kitchen and Mei ransacked his DVD collection. Hey, why not this one? She held up a horror movies case. Momo squeaked. No, horror movies ruin my beauty sleep. Mei grinned wickedly. Is someone a little scaredy cat? Just pick something else. They tried out a few more DVD titles that all got rejected, until finally Itsuka Kendo, ever the helpful big sister type, got up and found a simple rom-com movie that no one could possibly dislike. She powered on the DVD player and TV. And once 𝗂𝐭𝐲 brought over a few blankets, everyone settled in. Midoriya had his eyes on the screen when he felt something soft cover his lap. He looked down and saw 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵 draping a big, checkered blanket across their laps, and 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵 reclined as she brought the blanket up to her neck. "This is kinda cozy, Deku," she said, her cheeks going pink as she smiled. "Why yeah, very, thank you. This is very comfort. I mean, feel good. Blanket." Midoriya felt like he'd stuck a fork in the wall socket as his panicking brain fired off whatever relevant phrases it could think of. 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵 giggled. "I've seen this movie before. Watch this next scene closely, Deku. In the back, you can see." 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵 made a few comments as the movie played, and Midoriya barely noticed what he was eating or what anyone else was doing as he tried to think of some cool, manly thing to say or do. This was like a movie theater, right? He was sitting next to the best girl ever in a darkened room while a lovey-dovey movie played. And this evening was bursting with opportunities. Did he dare take one? Maybe not. Midoriya felt frozen with excited indecision as the movie neared its end. It was a total bummer when the movie was over and 𝗵𝘃𝐻 hit the lights. "Phew, it's 8:58, he said, checking the wall clock. "Better run, guys, or you'll find out why everyone in this neighborhood calls my mom the Gorgon. She's the nicest person I ever met," Momo said indignantly as she stood up and stretched. "You're just a brat." "I'm not," 𝗵𝘃𝐻 erupted. Momo actually took Ada's hand in hers as she led him to the front door. "Thank you for having us, Katsuki," she said over her shoulder with a wide smile. "See you all at school tomorrow." Ada looked flustered but didn't say a thing as Momo led him outside, his hand clasped firmly in hers. 8:59. "Last chance, guys," 𝗵𝘃𝐻 said. "Run, Shoto, Itsuka." And Mei got up and thanked 𝗵𝘃𝐻 for having them over, and they also left. Which left? 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵, we should leave. Oh, Midoriya wondered what that weight on his lap was. He had felt something warm and heavy settle on his lap during the movie, but he figured that 𝗵𝘃𝐻 owned a cat, and it had sat down on his lap. Nope. 𝗂𝐴𝐺𝐵 lay across his lap, fast asleep. And no way. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 grinned. "Damn, Deku, you already got more action than I did on my date with her." "Kaken, don't be crude." "Sure thing, love maestro. I'm sure guys will show yourselves out." 𝗵𝘃𝐻 wandered off and went upstairs. At once, his mom's voice rang out. "KATSUKI, did your friends leave yet?" "They just left." "Damn nag, don't you talk to me like that. You're the one who started yelling first." 𝗂𝐺𝐵 blinked awake and rubbed her eyes. "Deku, She realized her position and let out an embarrassed squeak. She sprang to her feet, her face red. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean. Was that too forward of me? I just got so tired." "It's totally fine." Deku smiled as he got up. "Come on, I'll walk you home. It's dark out." 𝗂𝐺𝐵 nodded, clearly flustered. "Oh, sure." They didn't say a word as Midoriya escorted 𝗂𝐺𝐵 to her house. But the whole way there, he found himself relaxed, and in fact he wished this evening would never end. He breathed the cool, slightly damp October air as he passed under a street lamp. This felt like a scene from that rom-com he just watched, but this was a million times better. "Okay, this is my house." 𝗂𝐺𝐵 pointed at her house as she walked up the front steps. But you knew that, right? I mean, we live right next door." "There's your house, too." She pointed at it. "Yeah, home sweet home." Midoriya scratched the back of his head, his mind racing for something cool to say. It came up empty. Darn it. 𝗂𝐺𝐵 went a shade redder and hurried to her porch, waving. "Gee, good night, Deku. See you at school." "See you." Midoriya waited until 𝗂𝐺𝐵 went inside before he wandered over to his own porch. He blinked when he recognized a certain face watching him from between the window curtains. So he was ready when he stepped into the living room. 𝐭 was all smiles. "You walked the Uraraka girl home." "That's my boy. And I thought chivalry was gone." Midoriya nearly hit the ceiling. "Mom, I was just being nice." "You can't fool me, Izuku." 𝗏 made a sly face as she waved a finger. A mother knows just what her boy is thinking. "I'm so happy for you." "I'm not here." Midoriya fell back on his default phrase as he raced to his bedroom and hastily shut the door. He leaned against the door and gently slid to the floor in a seated position, sighing slowly. He was really walking a tightrope here, and he did not need more distractions. Still, at least 𝗏 was on his side, even if she was super nosy about it. Midoriya, 𝗵𝘃𝐻, and the others were so wrapped up with study, abusing their brains for the Science Bowl the next day, the 10th annual charity youth bicycle race caught them by total surprise. Where did that come from? To be fair, though, 𝗏 had marked today in big red circles on the calendar, and Midoriya simply had tunnel vision where the Science Bowl was concerned. But heck, he needed a break to get some fresh air. "We're almost late, Izuku," 𝗏 said nervously as she and her son finally arrived at the starting area for the big race. She nervously toyed with her handbag. "I thought you were looking forward to this, honey." Midoriya gave his mom a bracing smile as he waved hello to his friends. "I am. I just kinda forgot about your favorite time of year." "Well," Midoriya was spared making up some silly excuse when 𝗵𝘃𝐻 and Mina joined him from the chattering, excited crowd on this sunny afternoon. "Deku, where you been, man?" 𝗵𝘃𝐻 asked. Like the others, he had his racing outfit on, a black and orange patterned outfit with green accent marks. "We were almost ready to start without you," Mina added, pouting. "Don't scare me like that, Izuku." Midoriya shrugged. "Sorry, guys. I was just cramming for the science bowl. Like I'm sure you guys were until the last minute." Bakugo grinned widely. "Who, me? I packed my brain to maximum capacity, Deku. Ready as I'll ever be." He pounded an open palm with his fist. "Now I gotta place first in this race, too. Quirks or not, I'm gonna win." Mina gave him a sly smile. "Oh, I don't think so, Bakugo. You beat me last time, but I have a few tricks ready." Bakugo scowled. "If you even think about throwing acid on my tires, racers, are you ready?" announced Coach Yagi, who, every year, volunteered to host the charity bike race. That guy was everywhere. "Get into positions, please, and we'll begin in just a moment." Inko wrapped her arms tightly around Midoriya. "Izuku, please be safe out there. Don't do anything reckless." "As long as Bakugo cooperates with me," Midoriya joked. "I'll be fine, Mom. I had a good breakfast." Which was true. Yum. Midoriya strapped on his helmet and stepped into the open street with the other racers at the starting line, admiring the very fancy banners that Momo and Ida had made for this event. Dozens of other high schoolers were also getting ready, some of them from Midoriya's high school, others from schools across the prefecture. He thought he recognized a few of them. And when he saw a certain colorful woman in the crowds, he knew it for sure. Ketsubutsu High School was here just like last year, and Midoriya was sure that they intended to win. Now Midoriya was getting some of Bakugo's competitive spirit, and he gripped his bike's handlebars tightly. So, he was going head-to-head with other schools twice in a row. "Bring it on." Before we begin, let us have a word from our wonderful sponsor, young Miss May Hatsune. Coach Yagi announced into his megaphone. He handed it over to Midoriya's classmate. "Good morning, everyone." May cheered, and she got an appreciable golf clap from the assembled audience of parents and neighbors. "I've got a special announcement to make. Today's racers are all gonna ride with the finest bicycle gear in all of Japan. My newest, lab-built babies will show you the height of bicycling, and all right before your very eyes. That's right, every bicycle here today was modified by hand, one by one. I worked hard. I hope you like the results." Bakugo recoiled and whipped his head around to face May. "What the hell, gearhead?" he roared. "You messed with my bike." "When?" "Last night, while everyone was asleep," May told him through the megaphone. "You can keep my new babies as payment, okay? It's a bargain." Bakugo was losing his mind. "No one messes with my stuff without permission." "Hey, me too," one of the Ketsubutsu students yelped. "You messed with my bike." "When did that happen?" "I don't even live here. I took the late train," May told him casually. Midoriya hung his head. That girl would go to any length, wouldn't she? Meanwhile, Midoriya spotted Mr. Aizawa in the crowd, who attended the race more out of obligation than anything, and he looked distinctly annoyed as the present Ketsubutsu teacher, Ms. Joke, kept cozying up to him. Midoriya could have sworn he saw hearts floating up around her. Come to think of it, she was doing this last year, too. Coach Yagi gently took back the megaphone and raised a fist. "Riders, are you ready?" the well-muscled man cried. "And remember, no matter who wins, I want you all to be proud of yourselves. Do your best today. Plus ultra." About half the racers repeated the rallying cry, which was apparently good enough, because Coach Yagi brought down his fist in a sharp arc and cried, "Begin." The crowd applauded as the racers took off. Midoriya did what he always did in races, kept calm, and assessed every little thing. Living with no quirk meant studying and preparing for everything. And in events where quirks weren't allowed, boy did it come in handy. Midoriya knew better than to burn up all his energy getting in the lead right away. But he wanted to build up some serious momentum and stay in the thinner parts of the pack so he'd have room to maneuver. And given the layout of the race, he'd go through most of his usual touring spots like Bad Dog Park and Bottle Bridge and Funny Duck Road. Nice and easy, keep it steady. Midoriya was feeling pretty good about his pacing as he kept in the upper third of the pack while approaching Bad Dog Park. But one of the Ketsubutsu students soon overtook him, a blonde girl with pointy teeth. "Too slow, Buster." The girl teased him over her shoulder. "Sorry, not so fast, Tatami," one of the other Ketsubutsu students said as he gained on her, his legs pumping hard. "I've been practicing since last time." "Well, so have I, yo," the girl, Tatami, told him just as he started to overtake her. She shifted to another gear and easily retook the lead as the racers entered Bad Dog Park, and a few birds burst into flight from a nearby tree, startled by the shouting. "This isn't good," Midoriya realized as he was falling behind. He didn't want to spend too much energy too soon. But it was costing him. He was drifting close to the back of the pack, and here a few students from 1B were trying to keep up, including Yosu Uwase and Itsuka Kendo. "Better move it, Midoriya," Yosu said with an encouraging grin. He raced past the park's central pond. "Didn't you place third last time?" "Why yeah, but I think I got lucky," Midoriya panted. What was going on here? He totally wasn't at his best. Crap. Did his magic athlete breakfast turn out to be a dud? He got the recipe online, but you couldn't believe everything you read online. Or maybe it was mental. Meanwhile, there were bigger issues going on. I'm fine, Denki, Mina snapped, clearly annoyed as she and Denki brought up the rear of the pack. You don't have to keep asking me. What's wrong with that? Denki retorted. It's just a question. Humph, very funny. Mina made a pouty face as she shifted to a higher gear and pulled ahead. Yeah, real classy, showing off. Denki hollered. Mina didn't respond. Midoriya wanted to win, but darn it, he wasn't one to abandon a friend. He slowed down and kept pace with Denki. You guys are fighting, he panted. Denki made a frustrated noise. I don't know what's gotten into her, Deku. Things were great until a few days ago, but he wiped his brow and panted to catch his breath. She stopped texting me back and kinda started ignoring me. What? But you guys are so annoyingly PDA around each other. Midoriya realized, though, that he hadn't seen any of that in the last few days. What in the world? Look, let's just finish the race, Denki said. He started to pull ahead. Good luck with the science bowl this weekend. But for now, I'm gonna crush you. Midoriya grinned. Come and get me. He sped up and overtook Denki just as the boys raced out of Bad Dog Park and down Pineapple Street, close to the manga shop and a computer repair store. This was one of Midoriya's favorite places in town, but today it seemed to be cursing him because he was still slowing down, and Denki overtook him again, leaving Midoriya in last place. Plus, ultra, kind of. Midoriya took a few drinks from his water bottle and paced himself so he'd have energy to catch up later, but nothing was working. Why? The race was 3 laps, and by the time he crossed the finish line for the second lap, he was solidly in last place, and he caught a glimpse of 𝐭𝐸's worried face as he zoomed past. And a good look at Aizawa literally holding back Ms. Joke at arm's length, a super annoyed look on his face. Midoriya didn't have much energy to spare for brain power as he powered through the second lap, trying to overtake Denki, Mina, or Yosu as he approached Bad Dog Park again. He fought his way back up to the middle of the pack as he started lap 3, but even seeing Himiko Toga jumping up and down in the crowd and waving her arms to cheer him on didn't seem to work. He slipped behind again and stayed in last until he finally hobbled across the finish line after the final lap, gasping for breath and sweating head to toe. It was a mild October afternoon, but his muscles were burning. And we have a winner, Coach Yagi announced. Congratulations to Yoshindo of Ketsubutsu High School. You've done your classmates proud today, my boy. Plus ultra. Plus, whoa, I'm exhausted. The boy panted as he stepped off his bike, raising a trembling fist as the crowds applauded his victory. The other racers were also getting off their bikes as they arrived, a few of them actually laying down on the street to rest. And in second place we have Katsuki Bakugo. Coach Yagi added, Congratulations, my boy. Whatever, first or bust. Bakugo cried, waving his fists. Only winners survive. It's not life and death, pal, Yo said cheerily as he clapped a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. You did great. Great for second place, Bakugo complained. When I see you at the Science Bowl, you're going down. Yo still looked cheerful. Win or lose, I'm looking forward to this weekend. That hotel is awesome. I stayed there once. Bakugo looked too shocked to keep being angry. Wait, you did? When I was 2. Yo laughed. I don't remember it. So it'll be like going there for the first time again. Bakugo rolled his eyes. You're so dumb. And in third place, Coach Yagi announced, we have Yosu. Well done, my boy. Yosu, who still wore his trademark headband under his helmet, raised both fists and allowed everyone to applaud him. Thank you, he said. I could not have done this without the love and support of my parents. I love you guys. The crowd applauded even harder at that. He's a much nicer guy than people realize, Itsuka Kendo told Midoriya, beaming. If only he'd open up a bit more. He's not very talkative. Oh yeah, Midoriya wiped his brow. Yeah, maybe it's because. Itsuka giggled. He's also a bit kinky. He likes to draw girls getting tied up and tickled. He's shown me his drawings. Midoriya gawked. That's, what? Keep it a secret. Okay. Sure. Midoriya had no idea what to say to that, instead watching Itsuka walk toward the crowd to hug her adoring parents. Some people. Meanwhile, once Midoriya joined the crowd, Himiko Toga threw her arms around Midoriya and held him tight. Darling, you were awesome. You looked so manly, working so hard. Midoriya nervously patted Toga's head, wondering what Ochako would think if she saw this. Thanks, Toga. It's Himiko to you, darling. Thanks, Himiko. No sooner did Toga finally let him go did Inko wrap her son in a hug twice as tight and 5 times more passionate. Izuku, she sobbed. I thought you were going to collapse. I was about to call the paramedics. I'm not gonna die, Mom. Izuku really wondered what Ochako would think of this. He hastily scanned the crowd to find her, but his lovely neighbor was nowhere to be seen. He did see Bakugo and Mitsuki arguing in each other's faces, and he saw Momo using a rag to wipe the sweat off Ida's forehead, but no Ochako. Midoriya's eyes widened. That was it. Where was Ochako? She could have come here to race, but she never answered Midoriya's phone call when he invited her yesterday, and he hadn't heard from her since. She wasn't even here to cheer him on. No wonder he'd been limp and weak like week-old spaghetti. Okay, that was a gross metaphor. But still, hey, great job, guys, Midoriya said, still a bit out of breath as he high-fived his various classmates. But when he found Denki and Mina, they were facing away from each other, apparently being careful not to talk or look at each other. Great job, both of you, Midoriya said as he offered high fives to each. They each gave him a modest high five while still not looking at each other. Hey, are you guys okay? Midoriya added. What's the matter? I mean, it's just a race. Mina folded her arms and looked sour. Why don't you ask Denki? But he'll never tell you anything. Nothing's wrong. Sheesh, Denki cried. He gave off little zaps from his hair. Hey, no quirks on the racetrack, a student from Ketsubutsu told him. Whatever, man. Denki rolled his eyes not unlike Bakugo. Midoriya stared. This race was getting weirder and weirder. First 𝐒𝐴CHAKO vanishes. Now the love-struck Denki, Mina team is on the rocks. He opened his mouth to insist that they explain when Midoriya's school's fight song blasted in the air way too loud. What the? Like everyone else, Midoriya clapped his hands over his ears and saw that Coach Yagi had brought over a massive boombox and had pressed play, but he'd neglected to mind the volume. Aizawa hurried over and slapped a hand on the pause button. Well, that's enough of that, Aizawa mumbled into the megaphone. Please remember to donate for a good cause, everyone, and enjoy the concessions. And congrats to all the racers on their performance today. He shoved the megaphone into Coach Yaga's chest and stalked away. 𝗵𝘃𝗀 took her chance to hound after him, more hearts floating around her. Midoriya turned back to see that Mina was already stalking off too, to join her parents in the crowd while Denki was walking his bike away in the direction of his house. The other racers were scattering, too, but Bakugo made sure to gather the Science Bowl team first. His passion for the race was replaced with his passion for the looming Science Bowl. Put your hands here, Bakugo barked, and he offered his own hand at chest level. Once Midoriya, Mei, Momo, Ada, Shoto, and Itsuka all lay their hands together, Bakugo added, at the Science Bowl, we're gonna win. We're gonna win, Midoriya repeated with everyone else. We're gonna be number one. Bakugo roared. We're gonna be number one. We're gonna send them to hell. Momo made a face. I am not saying that, Katsuki. Katsuki Bakugo. Please have a sense of good sportsmanship. Ada barked, once again doing his funny hand motions. I will not have immature people on my team. Fine, let's get along like super happy friends, Bakugo shouted sarcastically. And Midoriya fought back a wide grin as he repeated that line with everyone else. They all raised their hands and cheered. Itsuka looked concerned as she lowered her arm. Wait, has anyone seen 𝗂𝐴CHAKO today? I hope she'll be on time for the bus to the hotel tomorrow. I have not seen her today, either. I am sorry, Ada said, making a stiff bow. If I see her, I will report back. This I promise. Momo giggled. You're so passionate, Tenya. Thank you, Momo. Momo blushed. Okay. That's enough of that, Midoriya thought, and he joined his mom and started walking his bike home. Good grief, what a day. He wanted to clear his head with some fresh air, but somehow, things were even more complicated now. Why were Denki and Mina fighting? Would Ketsubutsu High School beat Midoriya's high school as easily as it won the bike race today? And where was 𝗂𝐴CHAKO? Well, Midoriya could do something about that last one. Hey mom, I just need a second, Izuku said as he and 𝗏𝐴CHO arrived at their house's front lawn. He propped up his bike on its kickstand and jogged onto the front porch of the Uraraka home. He rang the doorbell. It took just a few seconds for Mr. Uraraka to swing the door open. Izuku, good evening, my boy, he said genially. How are you? Great, Midoriya said automatically. He felt himself flush and he clasped his hands behind his back to steady himself. Look, I haven't seen 𝗂𝐴CHAKO at school for a couple of days. Is everything okay? Mr. Uraraka made a sympathetic noise. I'm sorry, Izuku, but 𝗂𝐴CHAKO won't be able to attend the Science Bowl tomorrow. She caught a really bad cold. Midoriya's heart sank. She what? My 𝗂𝐴CHAKO needs to rest. Mr. Uraraka said gently. She's upstairs in her room. I'd rather not have anyone disturb her. He brightened. But if I get a chance, I'll tell her you came by because you so worried. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that. Why? Yeah, sure. Sorry to bother you. Midoriya felt stiff and cold like a zombie as he turned and marched back to his bike and walked it into the garage. What's wrong? 𝗏𝐴CHO asked. Oh, Midoriya swallowed. 𝗂𝐴CHAKO caught a bad cold. She can't go to the Science Bowl with us tomorrow. 𝗏𝐴CHO made the same sympathetic noise that Mr. Uraraka did. That's awful, Izuku. Wasn't she looking forward to it? Midoriya made a dramatic sigh as he propped up his bike against the wall. Yeah, and so was I. Midoriya was still pouting in a corner when his high school's Science Bowl team boarded the fancy, cozy bus that pulled up at the school grounds that afternoon once class let out. and while the other 7 team members studied and quizzed each other, watched a cool movie on the overhead screens, had a few snacks, or just chatted to unwind, Midoriya still sat apart from the others, surrounded by a general purple cloud of moody, angsty upsetness. "Izuku, you should be more sociable," Momo said bracingly as the bus entered the Tohoku region, which was lovely this time of year. "We're playing Uno. How'd you like to join us and take your mind off things?" Midoriya sat with his face tucked into his legs on the seat and added another bit to his moody cloud. "No thanks, Momo." Leave him," 𝗵𝘃𝐲 said dismissively. "I know him. He ain't gonna budge." Itsuka Kendo made a sympathetic noise as she made her play in Uno. "I'm sorry your friend couldn't join us, Izuku, but the team has to make do. You'll see Ochako when we get back, I'm sure." Midoriya made a grumpy noise that not even Aizawa on bad day could dream up. 𝗵𝘃𝐲 laughed dryly. "Oh, I know that sound. Forget it, Kendo. I ain't seen Deku this upset since the time he dropped his ice cream cone and had his favorite TV show cancelled on the same day." Itsuka made the same sympathetic noise. "I'm sorry to hear that, Izuku. You must have been so young." "It was last year," Midoriya snapped, trying not to go red. Oh, what a lamentable day that had been. He'd also failed a math test on that day, but mercifully, 𝗵𝘃𝐲 hadn't mentioned that. There was only so much salt Kaken was willing to pour on a wound. He was merciful that way. What low standards and friends Midoriya sometimes had. Ada cleared his throat. "Please take heart, Izuku Midoriya. We 7 shall take up the slack and perform most admirably at the Science Bowl. Hooray for Team Yaoyorozu." Momo giggled. "You're so nice to name the team after me." 𝗵𝘃𝐲 exploded. Literally. That is, since he accidentally set off his quirk in anger and scattered Uno cards all over the bus. "What? I'm the glue holding this team together and I studied the most. Either it's Team 𝗵𝘃𝐲, or I'm turning this bus around." "No you're not," Aizawa muttered from his own seat near the driver. Midoriya snorted. "Good old Kaken. This bus would turn around better if it installed one of my new babies," Mei added excitedly as she helped Ida collect the scattered, burnt cards. "I tinkered with a new model of bus axles that could turn this box around on a dime." "No way. You're making that up," 𝗵𝘃𝐲 snorted. "No, I'm trying to expand into commercial transport," Mei said as she picked up the last of the Uno cards and dumped them on 𝗵𝘃𝐲's lap. "It's lucrative." Midoriya groaned and sank deeper into his knees. Mei was such a great entrepreneur, but he had no idea what to do with his future. He'd been totally lost at that stupid job fair. Now a proper rain cloud formed over Midoriya's head and started raining. That wasn't in today's weather forecast. "Crap, we're losing him," 𝗵𝘃𝐲 said. He vaulted right over Ada's lap and landed by Midoriya, gently shaking the other boy's shoulders. "Come on, Deku, I'll buy you an ice cream on the way back." Midoriya grunted. "I'll buy you a new PSP game. I sold my PSP last week. It was getting glitchy. I'll, let you cheat off my papers for the finals this semester." Midoriya perked up. "Really? I think not." Ada bolted to his feet and did his funny arm motions again. "Teacher Aizawa, Katsuki 𝗵𝘃𝐲 is plotting to cheat. I heard it with my own ears. I swear on my grandmother's grave." Aizawa snorted. "Everyone sit down already and be quiet. I'm getting a headache." "Well, not me." Coach Yagi sprang to his feet and puffed out his well-defined chest, nearly filling the entire bus with pectoral muscles. "I say buck up, young Midoriya. So Ochako Uraraka fell ill. I am sorry that the girl of your dreams is absent. But lo, for she shall await your return upon the school fair." Midoriya's mind went in 2 different directions, and he went bright red as he covered his face. What? How did? Know that? Poetry. Maidens. Stop it. That's a secret. 𝗵𝘃𝐲 rolled his eyes. "I'll do the talking, dumbass Deku." He pointed at Coach Yagi. "Are you mocking my buddy Deku?" "Only I have the right to do that." "The right," Midoriya repeated skeptically. Coach Yaga's dazzling smile widened. "It was so clear during the tryouts, young 𝗵𝘃𝐲. Young Midoriya had a girl to impress, and he stole many glances at her. And how he uncharacteristically tried out for the prestigious soccer team right after she transferred to our school." Shoto Todoroki's eyes widened. "I'll be darned. He has brains after all." Coach Yagi struck a pose like a beach model and widened his smile even further. "Oh, how my heart is moved by young passion. Plus, ultra." He jabbed out his fists in 2 different directions without looking and nearly knocked Aizawa's head off. "Okay, Buster, time to cool it," Aizawa barked, rising to his feet. His weird ribbon things extended and wrapped themselves around Coach Yagi, forcing the bigger man to sit down. Coach Yagi allowed himself to be settled down in good humor, and finally learned to shut up until the bus rumbled into Akita and pulled up in front of the Ridgeview Lodge. "Ooh, we're here. We're here," Momo cried happily, bouncing up and down in her seat. "Can we get off? Can we?" Aizawa casually got up and slouched off the bus. "Follow me, science team." Midoriya slouched off the bus just like Aizawa did, but he perked up like he got a shot in the arm when he realized where he was standing. This place. His mom would have to empty her bank accounts to stay here overnight. Or at least it looked that way. The hotel was huge and busy, curving gently inwards to make a softer and more organic look. And it must have been 15 stories high, complete with a bunch of glass doors for its entrance lobby and beautiful blossom and fruit trees in its front grounds. Lots of buses, taxis, and cars were coming and going, including a number of tourists looking for a place to stay on their trip, not to mention the students from the other schools. And Midoriya's rival detector went off once he spotted a few students with a familiar school uniform. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. So there they are, 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗁 said, cracking his knuckles as the group headed for the front doors. He had his fiery demon aura up. Oh, they're going down this year. Oh yes they are. +Ultra right in their faces. +Ultra. I like the sound of that. It's passionate. 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗁 blinked. What the? One of the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 students broke from the rest and jogged over to Midoriya's group, an intense look on his face. He did a polite but hasty bow. Good evening, everyone. I am 𝗧𝗏 Urashi, captain of the 𝗧𝗏𝗂 High Science Bowl team. Please call me 𝗧𝗏. It's so incredible to meet you all. He repeated his bow for everyone in Midoriya's group. And he actually kissed the girls' hands one by one like some cheesy European prince. What? Ooh, he's an old-fashioned one, Momo said with a bashful giggle. Eda, meanwhile, went red and stiffened his back. His glasses panes glinted. Mr. 𝗧𝗏 Urashi. Yes, that is me. 𝗧𝗏 whirled around and bowed at Ida. I am so glad you remember my name. Clearly, you have passion for this rivalry. 𝗧𝗏 was talking way too loudly, but Ida managed to raise his voice even more. Have some restraint, Mr. Urashi. Kissing Momo's hand. What do you think this is? A science bowl. One that I intend to win. 𝗧𝗏 raised both fists. Well, I insist that you keep your body parts to yourself. Ida barked, going red in the face. Momo, she's a shy maiden. How can you? Momo made an annoyed face as she covered Ida's mouth. It's fine, Tenya. He's just being nice. Yes, I am. 𝗧𝗏 roared happily. But if it bothers your teammate, Monsieur Urazu, I apologize. Here. He bowed so hard he whacked his head on the ground. He seemed to feel no pain. Momo sighed. What bothers me is I didn't bring any earplugs. Yoo-hoo, 𝗧𝗏. One of the other 𝗧𝗏𝗂 students, a curvy girl with wavy brown hair, waved to him. We've got to hurry and get to our rooms. Our teacher's waiting for us. 𝗧𝗏 whirled around and marched toward her. I do humbly apologize for holding us up, Kami. For punishment, I will do 30 push-ups in the hotel room while you sit on my back. Shoto made a sour face as he watched the 𝗧𝗏𝗂 students crowded into the hotel ahead of his own group. To think I'll be sharing a hotel with them. They ain't gonna be so carefree when we clobber them, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 growled as the team approached the front doors. +Ultra, chumps. It's time to win. Itsuka Kendo slapped a hand over her face. 5 minutes in and this turned into a total circus. Midoriya patted her back. It's okay, Itsuka. I know how to settle Kaken down. I won't let him keep anyone up tonight. Who said anything about sleep? 𝗵𝘃𝗀 dug out his exercise sweatband from his bag and put it on. We're cramming till the morning sun. Forget the hotel's fancy crap. We're hitting those books until 𝗵𝘃𝗀's macho words died in his throat as the group beheld the Ridgeview Lodge's interior. This place is huge. Midoriya was already thinking of Heimji Castle, Grand Central Station, and Buckingham Palace as his wide eyes scoped out the fancy, modern interior. But even with the shiny brass handrails, soft lighting, and marble walls, there were comforting Japanese aesthetics in here. Like the antique wall scrolls mounted at regular intervals, the classic-style fountains at each corners, and gentle folk music playing quietly on speakers overhead. Even with all the tourists and businessmen bustling around, this place instantly had a calming effect. Unreal. And then there were the features, like the many elevators, the bellhops and their carts, the fancy hotel bar, a massage and spa area, signs pointing to the bathhouses, the massive restaurant, and even a small arcade. Midoriya felt a wide grin tug at his lips and he totally forgot his grumpy rain cloud. I could live in here. And then he saw a familiar face. Several, actually. Izuku, there you are. Midoriya was one of many parents who suddenly stepped out of the hotel bar to smother their beloved kid. She wrapped him in a tight hug. I've been waiting. Did the bus get a flat tire? I think you just got impatient, Midoriya joked. Hi, Mom. Son, Mr. Todoroki said in his deep voice as he towered over Shoto. I expect good results at the Science Bowl tomorrow. I will be watching. I'm sure you will, Shoto said sourly. Now, that's no way to talk to him. Clearly, Mitsuki 𝗵𝘃𝗀 had had a few drinks as she attempted to drape her arm across Mr. Todoroki's shoulders. Lighten up. This is gonna be fun. Fun when I win, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 said doggedly. Second place ain't worth she. Mitsuki slapped her son on the top of his head. Language, Katsuki. She barked. Damn, what's the matter with you? Speak for yourself. 𝗵𝘃𝗀 snapped. What the hell? You're both doing it. A man who could only be 𝗵𝘃𝗀's dad said timidly. No one seemed to hear him. Okay, that's enough, Aizawa said, wisely stepping in. Kids, you can have a little free time with your parents when you get settled into your rooms. Follow me into the elevator. Wait, are they staying here overnight? Midoriya blurted. Yes, for half the normal cost, Aizawa said. Principal Nezu worked hard to negotiate all the details. Be sure to thank him. And Ko beamed. This will be so cozy, Izuku. I've never stayed somewhere this nice before. I have the best teachers ever. Midoriya finally felt like things would turn out all right. Sure enough, he'd have plenty of cool stories to share with Ochako when he got back. Sure thing. Midoriya waved goodbye to his mom and joined Mr. Aizawa in the elevator. Curfew is 10 p.m., Aizawa said as the elevator closed. And here are the rules for staying at the hotel. Don't abuse this privilege. Midoriya and the others barely had time to set up their stuff in their stellar, plus-size hotel rooms when they were called back downstairs to the hotel's restaurant, where everybody's parents simply insisted on having a late dinner with them. Bakugo clearly would rather be anywhere but here, especially when Mitsuki Bakugo retaliated for Bakugo's bad behavior by telling everyone ridiculous stories from his childhood. Midoriya had known Bakugo since he was 3, but some of these knee slappers were new to his ears. And Ko, too, shared a few more details in front of everyone than he'd like. Luckily, the parents were okay with the students blowing off dessert so they could visit the arcade before the 10 p.m. curfew Aizawa had set. But they weren't alone in there. Oh, hey, kids, Ms. Joke said cheerily, waving hi to Midoriya's group when they stepped into the hotel's arcade. Nice of you to join us. I'm just watching over things. Bakugo made his angry face again. What? Shiksu beat us here. I've failed again. Ms. Joke blinked. Failed what? That. Bakugo pointed at the Dance Dance Revolution game, wherein Sayarashi was competing against Yoshindo of Ketsubutsu High School. Both boys were trying their hardest, racking up the points as their classmates cheered them on. What? Did you want it to yourself? Momo said with disbelief. Bakugo stomped a foot. Shiksu beat us there, that's all. Even dumb Ketsubutsu got here first. I heard that, MS. Joke said sourly. And so did I. The song ended just in time for Inasa to leap off the game platform and jog toward Midoriya's group. He did a deep bow to everyone. I welcome new challengers. It seems that Ketsubutsu cannot match Shiksu. I am sorry, Ms. Joke, but I need new competition. Ms. Joke smiled. It's okay, Mr. Yurashi, as long as everyone's having fun. Uo, look, guys, new players. Another Shiksu girl, Kami, waved hello to Midoriya's group. Come on, play with us. Just don't make us look bad in front of them. Another Shiksu student grumbled. Kami giggled. This is Seiji. Feel free to ignore him. He's such a sourpuss. I'm not, Seiji snapped. I'm just here to make sure everyone behaved in a dignified manner. One of his other classmates finished chugging a Coke and belched loudly. Seiji slapped a hand over his face. It's all fun and games, Seiji. Inasa zoomed over and draped an arm across Seiji's shoulders. Lighten up. We'll kick butt at the Science Bowl tomorrow, but tonight, we're all friends. Seiji grunted. Just be quiet about it. Oh, who am I kidding? Inasa clapped his hands together. Great. Who's up first? Midoriya somehow found himself going first, and he broke into a sweat when everyone's eyes were on him and the song started. Oh no, try your hardest, Izuku Midoriya, Inasa said, spreading his arms wide as he prepared to move. Or I'll never forgive you. Neither will Kaken. Midoriya had played this game before, but not recently. In fact, last time he slipped and nearly broke his collarbone. Come on, keep up with me. Inasa's feet zipped across the game board, nailing every arrow on the song. Whoa, this was harder than Midoriya remembered, and not even his bicycle-trained legs could keep up with this. Inasa soared to an easy victory and Midoriya, totally dizzy, staggered off the game board. Shiksu wins the first round, Inasa declared as he raised both fists. Who's next? First round of what? Itsuka asked. Inasa pointed. I just had an idea. We shall study and quiz one another at the same time to exercise mind and body alike. Who's with me? Midoriya blinked. You want to cram for the Science Bowl and play DDR? Why not? Someone challenge me, Inasa cried. Bakugo vaulted onto the game board. Oh, it's so on, he declared. Guys, ask me anything. He chose another song, and once the music started, a very strange scene unfolded. Guys, Kami offered, cupping her hands over her mouth. In physics, a radian per second is a unit of what? Angular velocity, Inasa said at once, stomping both feet to score with 2 different arrows. Correct. Woohoo. They giggled and cupped her hands around her mouth, too. Shockingly, Brattain and Bardeen won a Nobel Prize for what small invention? The transistor. Bakugo snapped. Right on, Bakugo. I can do this, too. Seiji, despite his sour expression, cleared his throat. How many atoms of oxygen are in a glucose molecule? 8. Bakugo cried. Wrong. Bakugo's quirk threatened to singe someone's eyebrows. What? The answer is 6. Inasa cried. Eat my dust, Katsuki Bakugo. Mind your manners. Seiji bit back. Appearances are everything. Back and forth they went, and after a stubborn match, 𝗀𝗏𝗧 narrowly edged out 𝗵𝘃𝐻𝐽 in DDR points and science question. 𝗵𝘃𝐻𝐽 slouched off the gamepad in defeat, and he clapped a weary hand on 𝗧𝗪's shoulder. "You're up, half and half guy." 𝗧𝗪 winced. "No way, just for fun," Midoriya encouraged him. "It might soothe the nerves and blow off steam." "Well, I suppose that's sensible." 𝗧𝗪 Todoroki casually stepped onto the gamepad and took his turn against the reigning champion. And the song in question started fast and furious. "What is the acid present in vinegar?" asked 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝐵 Nakagame of Ketsubutsu High School. "Acetic acid," 𝗧𝗪 said calmly as he gracefully nailed every DDR arrow that came his way. "Correct. Guys, in the first stage of photosynthesis, light energy is used to do what?" Momo asked. 𝗀𝗏𝗧 landed his next few arrows. "Split water." "Very good. That's correct. I've got one." 𝗂𝗏 raised his voice over the music. "Please answer me this. The hydrolysis of orthoclase results in the formation of what?" 𝗧𝗪 and 𝗀𝗏𝗧 were both neck and neck in DDR, and they were also neck and neck in not knowing what the heck the answer was. "Do another one," 𝗀𝗏𝗧 demanded. "Even I do not know the answer," 𝗧𝗪 admitted. "Well, that's a tough one," 𝗬𝐵 commented, arms folded casually as she watched both boys go through the song's last chorus. 𝗂𝗏 shook his head. "The answer is kaolin." "𝗧𝗪, you must be ready for anything." "Sorry about that." 𝗧𝗪 finished the song with an exact tie, and he tossed his hair casually as he stepped off the stage, slightly sweaty and looking all cool and whatever. All the girls eyed him with great interest as he walked past them. "Some people." 𝗵𝘃𝐻𝐽 made an aggravated noise. "We gotta find a way to win, guys." "I'll go next." "You already took a turn," 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝐵 pointed out. "Let someone else try." 𝗵𝘃𝐻𝐽 jabbed a finger at 𝗀𝗏𝗧. "But he's been there the whole time. He won each time." "You time to wrap it up." "Students," a familiar man's voice said, and everyone turned to find Shota Aizawa shuffling toward the group, hands in his pockets. "It's nearly 10. Get back up to your rooms." "Oh, why not let them play a little more?" Ms. Joke wrapped her arms around Aizawa. "Just 10 minutes. No, and let go already," Aizawa mumbled. "Everyone needs to get their sleep for the Science Bowl tomorrow. It starts at 8 sharp, you know." "Oh, don't worry. We'll be there," Ms. Joke purred, gripping Aizawa even tighter as little hearts floated around her. "I wouldn't miss you for anything." "Teacher, you gave yourself away," 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝐵 said with an embarrassed smile, going pink in the face. Aizawa made an annoyed noise. "Can we please get back up to the rooms where it's nice and quiet?" "Fine." Ms. Joke reluctantly let Aizawa go and herded her students out of the arcade into the nearest elevator. The Shiksu students, with 𝗀𝗏𝗧 in the lead, headed for the next elevator, with 𝗀𝗏𝗧 waving a vigorous goodbye and 𝗵𝘃𝐻𝐽 shooting him a dirty look. Things were nice and quiet in the hotel when Midoriya rode the crowded elevator to the 12th floor, where his team was staying. But he got a surprise when the group arrived at their doors. "Oh, Ochako!" Midoriya cried. He felt his spirits soar as he saw Ochako Uraraka and her parents approaching the rooms from the other side of the hallway. "Deku, Katsuki, everyone." Ochako hurried ahead of her parents, waving her arms. "I made it." Midoriya was sure he heard angels singing as he rushed forward to meet her. "Weren't you sick?" "Your dad said." Ochako looked a little pink in the face and her hair was a bit messy, but she looked no worse for wear. "I felt a little better today and my doctor said I'm not contagious, so I begged my parents to let me come." And just like in a rom-com movie, Midoriya reached out and caught Ochako in a big hug, right there in front of the girl's room door. It felt so right somehow. He didn't care if Momo and Itsuka were giggling at him behind his back. Midoriya held Ochako tight, burying his face in her shoulder. "Welcome back to the team." "Why yeah, thanks." Ochako went a few shades redder, and she felt pretty warm in Midoriya's arms. Deku, we're so close." "I'm sorry." Midoriya automatically apologized, letting her go. But he was doing a big, silly happy dance in his mind. Ochako was here. Now there was nothing to worry about. He didn't care if his team placed dead last in the Science Bowl. "Better not tell Kakin that." "I wasn't told about this," Aizawa said, frowning. "Hold on." He checked his cell phone and winced. "I apologize. It seems I missed a call from the principal, probably because everyone was making too much noise for me to hear it." "Everyone look after her, okay?" Mrs. Uraraka said fondly as she brought over Ochako's suitcase. "She's still recovering." "Mom," Ochako huffed. "I'm not a little kid." "Well, you'll always be my princess, Mr. Uraraka said with a big smile. Ochako's face went maximum red and she covered her face with her hands. "Well, time to settle in," Aizawa said before things could possibly get any more awkward. "Move it, kids. Have a good night, everyone," Mrs. Uraraka said, beaming as she waved goodbye. "We'll cheer you guys on," Mr. Uraraka added as the students opened up their doors. Ochako was the first to hurry into the girls' room and retreat from sight. Momo sighed. "Don't worry, I'll keep a lid on things. Have a pleasant evening." Trying to look as high class as possible, Momo lifted her chin and strutted into the girls' room, with Itsuka and Mei following her and trying not to bust a gut laughing. 𝐻𝐸𝐽 stiffened his back and adjusted his glasses. Gentlemen, let us adjourn for the night and prepare for tomorrow. We must respect our teacher's wishes. Then he realized that Midoriya, Bakugo, and Shoto had already gone in the room. Come on, Ada, Midoriya teased him, sitting on the edge of the Western-style bed. Last one in is a rotten egg. Sorry, this mockery will not be forgiven. Ada marched into the room, shut the door, then promptly fell face first on his part of the closer bed and started snoring a bit. Shoto made a face as he scooted the snoring Ada over to make room for himself. This is why I like having my own room. Relax. In these beds, we'll all sleep great. Midoriya patted his bed covers and started daydreaming about the science bowl now that Ochako was here. Nothing could bring him down now, except for Bakugo kicking him in his sleep, as it turned out later that night. Why didn't Midoriya realize that he'd always been a waiter? And it was the dinner rush. He scrambled out of the kitchen with plates hot Italian food in each hand and rushed to the table, where Aizawa and Principal Nezu were waiting. They were such good friends. Hey, table 4 needs their check. The head chef barked. Get it, Midoriya? Midoriya rushed over but tripped on his untied shoelaces, and he sprawled on the tiled floor. People were laughing, and he realized that his pants were down, too, and his teeth were gone. Worst day ever. Ugh, that noise. Midoriya clapped his hands over his ears as the kitchen door started rattling and banging, like fists were pounding on it. He heard a girl's muffled voice from behind it, and it seemed to be getting louder. Deku. Dude. Midoriya jumped when Bakugo shook him awake, and the mean-spirited Italian restaurant dissolved into his hotel room. And sure enough, someone was banging on the door. Either the housekeepers were just dying to change their sheets, or someone was pretty angry out there. What time is it? Midoriya asked groggily as he rubbed his eyes. Funny, the sunlight coming from between the window curtains seemed pretty bright. Guys, came Momo's voice from behind the door. Are any of you awake? We're late for the first round of the science bowl. What the? Midoriya checked the alarm clock on the bedside table and wishes that he was still pantsless at the Italian restaurant. 8:11. Late indeed. We're common, Bakugo roared as he scrambled to get his shirt on. Stupid Ada forgot to set the alarm. Tenya Ada, who was still asleep face down from last evening, sprang to his feet and made an outraged face. What? We did not decide whose responsibility the alarm setting was. I cannot take the blame for this alone, Katsuki. This is most unfair. Put a sock in it, Shoto grumbled as he got out of bed, tossing his half and half hair. So we overslept. Let's just hurry down there and apologize to Mr. Aizawa. Oh no. Everything's ruined. Midoriya's head buzzed with panicked thoughts as he scrambled to get dressed, ignoring his rumbling stomach. His mom must be worried sick that something happened. Maybe she thought space aliens had abducted him. Or maybe she pictured Izuku drowning in the tub, or she thought that Izuku had suffocated on his blankets. That would make a really big number. Momo knocked on the door again. Boys, are you almost ready? We have to go. I am here. Ada puffed out his chest as he hurried to the hotel room's door and wrenched it open. He bowed deeply. I am sorry that we delayed everything. Please do not think ill of us. Momo rolled her eyes, arms folded over her expensive-looking blouse. You're forgiven, honorable samurai. Just please hurry. So much for breakfast. Midoriya dug a power bar out of his backpack, crammed that sucker into his mouth, and hurried down the hallway with the rest of the team toward the elevator. Go, go, go. Bakugo furiously assaulted the call button to make it go faster, and Midoriya could have sworn he heard the button cry out for its mommy. Sorry about this, Midoriya told Ochako meekly at the group's back while Itsuka fussed at Bakugo. You fought a bad cold just to come here, and now we're late. He looked down at his shoes. Ochako patted his back. It's okay, Deku. These things happen, as long as we try our best. Right. Midoriya looked up just in time to see Ochako's big, friendly smile, and he couldn't help smiling, too. He felt himself go pink. Okay, let's try our best. Team Uraraka. He raised a fist. 𝗵𝗃 giggled while Bakugo continued his siege on the elevator's call button. It's so cute you named the team after her, Izuku, she commented. It's Team Bakugo. The explosion boy snapped, right before the elevator finally showed up. Midoriya nearly got the life squeezed out of him as the group of 8 all crammed themselves into the elevator at the exact same time like animals. He barely had room to reach over and press the ground floor's button. This is it, team, Bakugo announced as the elevator got moving. We win or we die. Itsuka snorted. Remind me not to try out for next year's Science Bowl team. Midoriya, meanwhile, couldn't relax until he and the other 7 reached the auditorium doors and yanked them open. He put on a happy smile now that things were getting underway. Then he saw the size of the crowded auditorium. Was this the Academy Awards or something? Up on the stage, meanwhile, 2 long tables were set up with white tablecloths draped over them. And the Shiksu team was already seated at the table on stage right, while the other table's 8 chairs were open for Midoriya's team. Coach Toshinori Yagi and a dark-haired teacher from Shiksu were both standing behind podiums, and Coach Yagi turned and waved. Here they come now, he announced into a cordless microphone. My school's team is running a bit late, but heck, here they are now, ready to play. Give it up for these fine young ladies and gentlemen. There was polite applause as Midoriya and the others hurried down the aisle and climbed up a few stairs onto the stage. He and the others faced the audience and did a quick bow, then plopped into their seats. Midoriya took hold of his buzzer, ready for action. The others did the same. Heck yeah, 𝗂𝗧𝗏 𝗔𝐬𝐽 cheered, raising both fists. If my team won by default, that would be such a shame. My leftover passion would literally melt me into a pile of human goop. There was a stiff and unbelievably awkward silence following that. Midoriya could have sworn the crickets outside woke back up just so they could chirp. Yes, passion is key to victory, Coach Yagi said into the microphone. He cleared his throat. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Izuku Midoriya, Ochako Uraraka, Tenya Ida, Shoto Todoroki, Momoya Urazu, Meihatsum, Itsuka Kendo, and Katsuki Bakugo of Team 1. I think they're ready to rock. Don't you? There was a light scattering of applause. Either the crowd was annoyed at Midoriya's team being late, or they were tired of bad jokes. Fair enough in either case. Then let us begin. Coach Yagi got his spirit back as he turned to face the 16 assembled students and drew the first card from his stack. For 1 point, the solidified lava of a volcano belongs to which rock family? 𝗂𝗧𝗏 buzzed in with lightning speed. Igneous, he declared. Coach Yaga's dazzling white teeth glinted in the stage's lights. Correct. Now, for 1 point. Which type of muscle is a syncytium? Momo buzzed in this time. The answer is skeletal, she said loftily. Very good, Monsieur Urazu, Coach Yagi declared. Now for our third question. What? Midoriya didn't even hear the question. He felt like he was still in a dream somehow, loose and weightless, unable to grab onto anything. He frantically scanned the crowd until he finally found a familiar woman with dark green hair, seated between Mitsuki Bakugo and Momo's dad. Mom, Inko noticed her son watching her and waved and smiled. Okay, that did the trick. Question 6. Coach Yagi boomed. If a toy train moves in a circle of 8 meters radius with a speed of 4 meters per second, then what is the magnitude of the acceleration of the train? As though in slow motion, Midoriya saw 𝗂𝗧 start to squeeze his thumb down on his buzzer's button, and Midoriya brought his thumb down on his own buzzer at the same time. A millisecond would decide it. Midoriya heard a buzzer but couldn't tell whose it was. Yes, young Midoriya, Coach Yagi asked. I got it. Midoriya swallowed. 2 meters per second squared. Yes, very good. Coach Yagi gave him a quick salute. Now, each team is tied 3 points to 3. Once we finish the first 40 questions, all point values are doubled, and the questions get way harder. Are you kids ready? Everyone nodded. Excellent. Coach Yagi dramatically drew another card, and promptly dropped it. The audience chuckled as the muscular man knelt to pick it up. My passion gets ahead of me sometimes, he said bashfully, slicking a hand over his dazzling blonde hair. Next question. Back and forth the two teams went, everyone buzzing in at least once. Ida got his first answer wrong, but then Kami of Shikzu got an answer wrong, and Shoto was quick to answer it correctly. Ochako was quiet, though, and she didn't press her buzzer even when Midoriya's team was down 1 point, 20-19. Question 40, and the last one-pointer. Coach Yagi warned everyone. His bright blue eyes scanned the card. A poise is the unit of measure of what? Quick like a cheetah, 𝗂𝗧𝗏 buzzed in, a confident grin spreading across his face. Midoriya scowled. He'd pressed his buzzer too, but too late, and now Shikzu High School's team had first crack at the question. It's mass, Midoriya thought. I'm sure of it. 𝗂𝗧𝗏 made a smug chuckle. Mass, he said. Nope, sorry. Coach Yagi shook his head, his dazzling smile still in place. Can the other team provide the answer? Midoriya frowned. The answer wasn't mass, but he was so sure. He glanced at Bakugo and Itsuka, both of whom shrugged. There was a buzz. Viscosity, Ochako said. Coach Yagi saluted her. Correct. Well done, Miss Uraraka. The audience broke into polite applause, and Midoriya felt like 1,000 happy balloons were lifting him to the heavens, like in that animated movie with the balloon-lifted house that he finally watched last year. Ochako. That concludes the first round of the 1-point phase, Coach Yagi declared, bowing to the audience. The two teams tie at 20 points each. Now, we shall start the next 1-point round. He turned back to the two teams. You both may have an hour-long break until the 2-point phase starts, and your match will be the first. For now, I would like to welcome the gallant teams of Ketsubutsu High School and Seai Academy. The audience politely clapped again as 16 more students arrived on stage, and as he got up to make room for them, Midoriya recognized Yoshindo and Tatami Nakagame from Ketsubutsu High School. He gave them a friendly wave that Yo half-heartedly returned and that Tatami wholeheartedly returned. Well, maybe Yo was just as nervous as Midoriya felt about all this. Coach Yagi introduced the new students as Midoriya exited the auditorium with the others. Not bad, huh? Midoriya said brightly as the 8 of them entered the hotel's enormous, fancy lobby. He casually folded his hands together behind his back as he walked. Bakugo's quirk sizzled and sparked on his palms. Oh, we're just getting started, Deku, he said wickedly, his teeth sharp like a shark's. I'm going straight back up to the room to cram, and we'll finally mop the floor with Shikzu. His stomach growled. Everyone else burst out laughing. Come on, fuel up, Mei said with a giggle as she clapped a hand on Bakugo's back. Let's visit the cafeteria again. I think they're serving pancakes. Yum, Bakugo snorted. I'll destroy those pancakes like I'll destroy Shikzu High School. Plus Ultra. He pounded an open palm with his fist as he stalked off toward the cafeteria with Mei and the others. I'm not hungry, Ochako admitted, waving a hand. I'd rather just explore the hotel a bit. Midoriya didn't feel terribly hungry either, and an idea popped into his head. You guys go ahead, he told them. I'll see you for round 2. Better not be late, Deku, Bakugo said over his shoulder until Mei steered him into the cafeteria with the others. Ochako turned to Midoriya with a big smile. So, I guess it's just you and me, she said, rather pink in the face. Was it her leftover fever from the cold, or maybe something a little more? Why yeah, Midoriya said automatically, feeling himself starting to sweat. Crap, what did he do now? He was getting all flustered just standing here with Ochako, all alone in this huge hotel lobby. He couldn't resist her really cute smiling face, or how she was standing so close to him. He glanced over his shoulder and got an idea. Hey, Ochako, how'd you like to really see what the Ridgeview Lodge has to offer? Sure. In that case, let's go upstairs and get our jackets. Huh, our jackets. Oh, it didn't take Ochako long to see what Midoriya was getting at. The Ridgeview Lodge was in the middle of Akita, but it had its own park in the back, a few acres of asphalt paths, a few ponds, and a lot of lovely trees and neatly tended gardens. From out here, in the cool October sun, the hotel looked even more massive, towering over Midoriya like a mountain. Midoriya casually strolled through the park with the girl next door, taking in the fresh air and the fresh scent of the trees and gardens with some of the other hotel guests. He was quiet for a little while, wanting to just get away from all the craziness that was his high school life. It just felt so, well, right to spend a little quality time with a great girl like Ochako, just the 2 of them. After a while, Ochako made an amused noise. Bakugo is definitely more worked up about the science bowl than you, isn't he? You're so much more relaxed. Midoriya couldn't argue with that, but what was Ochako getting at? I want to win too, but you know what, just seeing this great hotel and being with all my friends is good enough for me. As though by magic, a miniature, imaginary Izuku Midoriya materialized on his left shoulder, one dressed like a tough guy, complete with shades. Hey, you, little Midoriya barked. Quit being lame. You're not in elementary school anymore. And here comes my very unwelcome subconscious, Midoriya thought with a mental groan. The little guy even had a funny accent. Ochako beamed. Does that include me? Sure it does, Midoriya said hastily. Did she think he wouldn't want her around? I couldn't be here without you. Ochako giggled as they rounded a corner and passed a colorful flower bed framed by low brick walls. You know what? My mom and dad didn't really want me here, either, but I just kicked and screamed until they gave in. Not literally, I hope, Midoriya said with a nervous laugh. Not since I was 4, Ochako joked. But when my dad told me how you came by my house to see me, well, she went red as an apple this time. I was so touched, Deku. That's what good friends do for each other. Thanks for making me so welcome in your neighborhood. She's coming on strong, kiddo, the imaginary tiny Midoriya said. Don't screw this up. Shut up, tiny me. Midoriya cleared his throat. Hey, anytime. I look out for my friends. More, tiny Midoriya barked. Ochako wrapped her arms around Midoriya's right arm and leaned in closer as they walked through the park, passing under a tree with vivid orange and yellow leaves. Thank you, Deku. Midoriya stopped, too. What's the matter? Ochako bit her lower lip and glanced down. Deku, remember after the job fair at school, when I met you after school and… Sure enough, Midoriya remembered that rather awkward job fair where Denki and Ochako knew exactly what they wanted to do, but Midoriya was stumped. But what did Ochako say after that? Then he remembered that scene on the school's front grounds between him and her, and now he went red, too. I remember, he croaked. His heart was racing in his chest. Yeah, Ochako looked up, her brown eyes fixed on his. You don't have to answer, Deku, but if you like me, would you tell me, or give me some hint? She let go of his arm and held her face in her hands, glancing away bashfully as she went a shade redder. This time, a tiny Midoriya in a white tux appeared on his other shoulder, and this one held a bouquet of roses and had a pink bow tie. This is your chance, the new Midoriya told the real one. Sweep her off her feet. Both tiny Midoriyas were egging him on, and the real Midoriya felt paralyzed, both flattered and shocked that Ochako was being so forward. He tried to get the words out, and he knew exactly what to say, but it was so difficult. "Oh, forget I said it," 𝐒𝐻𝐿 said, clearly mortified. I shouldn't pry about other people's feelings like that. Let's just go inside." And Midoriya wrapped one arm behind 𝗂𝐻𝐿's back and held her closer, his other hand gently tilting up her chin so she met his eyes again. He didn't say anything, he just held her there. He didn't care if anyone could see them, if anyone was listening. Instead, he tried to work up the courage to speak to the girl who meant the world to him and tell her just what he was thinking. "Deku," 𝗂𝐻𝐿 breathed. "What are you?" "I'm feeling a little tongue-tied," Midoriya teased her, and he felt himself automatically lean a little closer to her, savoring her sweet scent. Damn, everything about this girl was just perfect. "Sorry, 𝗂𝐻𝐿. I don't think I can say it with words." He didn't know what possessed him to say that, but the gentlemanly tiny Midoriya on his right shoulder was giving a nod of approval. "That's it," the tiny Midoriya said. "Just a little more." "Deku," 𝗂𝐻𝐿 breathed again, and she closed her eyes and stood on her tiptoes, leaning in close to brush her soft lips against his. "BRRRRRINNGG." Both of them jumped out of their skin when 𝗂𝐻𝐿's cell phone went off in her jeans pocket, and 𝗂𝐻𝐿 hastily backed up and snatched out her flip phone. Avoiding Midoriya's eyes, she flipped it open. "Hello." Midoriya tried to look nonchalant, but his heart was going a mile a minute, and both tiny Midoriyas, the punk and the gentleman, were in agony. He was so close to. He pictured the complete scene, complete with rom-com glittery backgrounds, and he had to turn away and put up a hand to hide his wide, ecstatic grin. If only he weren't such a timid wuss. If only he was cool and tough like Shoto or Kaken. "Don't worry about it. I don't feel any worse," 𝗂𝐻𝐿 was saying into her phone, making an exasperated noise. "I'll be fine. Look, I'll go to bed early tonight if you want, Mom." "No, I don't need to get a checkup." "Sorry, that was uncalled for. I'll be fine for school on Monday. I'm sure of it." "Oh, I'm in the park outside with Izuku." "Oh, fine." She hung up, and Midoriya eagerly turned to face her. 𝗂𝐻𝐿 blinked. "What were you looking at?" "Oh, and nothing." 𝗂𝐻𝐿 pointed at her phone and made an annoyed face. "My mom is taking every chance she gets to act like I'm about to catch the plague. I can't get 10 minutes alone." "Hey, it's a mom's job to worry, right? Boy, do I have experience with that." 𝗂𝐻𝐿 pocketed her phone and smiled again. "I guess. But, she wants me to go inside and lay down a bit before our next round in the science bowl." "Sorry, it's okay. I understand." All three Midoriyas, tiny and real, were mentally wailing in frustration and aggravation, but what could they do? "Thanks, Deku." 𝗂𝐻𝐿 glanced down and touched her lower lip with her fingertips, then went red again and hurried past him. I gotta go. I have lots to think about. After the science bowl." "That's what I meant. See ya." "Sure." Midoriya could barely mumble a response, still numb with disappointment as he watched 𝗂𝐻𝐿 hurry back to the hotel's back doors. He wanted to kick himself. He knew exactly how he felt about her, and she seemed into him, too. Why couldn't he say it? And if 𝗂𝐻𝐿 felt it too, couldn't she say something? Midoriya shook his head. No, it wasn't any use blaming everyone. He'd get his chance, one of these days. Maybe when he was old and shuffling around on a cane. There wasn't much point staying out here if he was all alone now. Both imaginary Midoriyas evaporated as the real one slowly followed 𝗂𝐻𝐿's footsteps to the hotel's back door, and he barely looked where he was going when he shuffled through the hotel's lobby and pressed the call button for the 12th floor. He might as well cram for the second round, and see if he could fit one more science bowl fact in his head. At this rate, he should be studying a pickup artist or two instead. But then again, he wasn't half bad out there, and he learned to really man up. He might get somewhere with this. That thought was enough to sustain him for now as he joined Bakugo, Shoto, and Ida in their room for cramming, who apparently had come back after a quick breakfast down in the cafeteria. Shoto looked up from his book. "Where have you been? I didn't see you down at the cafeteria," when Bakugo was stuffing his hungry face. Bakugo scowled. "I heard that. Half and half," Bakugo snapped. Midoriya made a nervous chuckle as he scratched the back of his head. This hotel has a park in the back, and I was checking it out with 𝗂𝐻𝐿. So you were alone with her out there," Bakugo said with a sly grin. "Not bad, Deku. You make your move." "Katsuki, that is personal," Ida barked, his glasses panes glinting. Even Shoto looked intrigued. "I heard that you're interested in her," he said casually. "Is that true?" Izuku, if you are attracted to Miss 𝗂𝐻𝐿 Uraraka, then you have my full support," Ida said, saluting. "As class representative, I have to look after the well-being of my classmates." Midoriya scowled. "Now who's the one asking personal questions?" "It is different when I do it," Ida said stubbornly. Bakugo's wicked grin grew wider. "Hear that, fellas? Deku and Uraraka were getting frisky out there where no one can see 𝐾ACCHAN. Shoto nodded. "That Uraraka girl is very nice. I can see why Midoriya is dating her." "I plan to," Midoriya said, mortified. Kaken went out with her once to make her see his boring side. But I haven't had a chance to date her yet. I see. 𝗧𝗪 managed a rare grin. So just to be clear, I take it that you've moved on from Himiko Toga, that weird girl from class 1 degrees Celsius. Midoriya made inhuman noises. Moved on. 𝗧𝗪 blinked. You mean you weren't dating Toga, either? I could have sworn I saw you walk her home many times. Both Ida and 𝗵𝘃𝗀 were roaring with laughter by now, and Midoriya was ready to strangle all three of these clowns. She was stalking me. She'll even pop out of trash cans and shrubs just to ambush me like a wildcat. Oh yes, I've heard that she has stalker tendencies, 𝗧𝗪 said vaguely, going back to his book. That's not something to take lightly, Midoriya said sourly. We just now became friends. But that's it. Midoriya, if there is something I can do to help, I shall do it. Ida offered, raising a hand. If you need me to arrange rose petals and a heart on her desk, write fancy poems for you, or spread positive rumors about it, I'm your man. 𝗵𝘃𝗀 nearly bust a gut laughing at that. Since when do you do crap like that, Ada? Are you just lending him your ideas for seducing Momo? Ada choked. Momo, who said anything about oh, right, 𝗧𝗪 said calmly, eyes scanning the contents of his science book. Tenya, you and Momo plan to date, right? Now Ida turned on 𝗧𝗪. Mind your own business, he roared, and his glasses practically flew of his face. Taste of your own medicine, class rep, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 mocked him. How do you like that? I shall not be mocked. Ada pumped both fists. I must act with dignity. Now allow me to write love poems to Uraraka on Izuku's behalf like I planned to. Write them to Momo, 𝗧𝗪 muttered. It's obvious that's what you want to do. Oh man, things are heating up in here. 𝗵𝘃𝗀 hooted, and he actually slapped his knee. What a riot. Midoriya heard enough. You guys are the worst, he muttered, stalking off and heading for the door. He wrenched it shut and resolved to find a new set of friends ASAP then again. Midoriya thought as he took the elevator back down to the lobby, this just meant that his friends cared, even if they were annoyed about it. And if they were all so sure about this, then that meant he had a real shot with 𝗧𝗪, right? He felt his grin cross his face as he imagined the park scene the way he intended it, holding 𝗧𝗪 close. Her eyes closed as their lips met. It was perfect, Izuku. The elevator doors slid open to reveal May standing there, several styrofoam boxes of leftover food held in her arms. I just saw 𝗧𝗪 a while back. She looked really happy for some reason. She was practically skipping. And no reason. I'm not here. Midoriya blurted out nonsense as he rushed past his pink-haired teammate and across the lobby, desperate to be isolated from super nosy classmate. 200 miles away from his school, and he still couldn't escape the onslaught. He had to take control of this mess, and fast. The break between rounds zipped by way faster than Midoriya expected. But then again, 𝗧𝗪 Uraraka was on his mind the whole time, and how close they had been in the hotel's sunlit park. Almost no one around to interrupt them. 𝗧𝗪's sweet scent, how her hair had tickled him when they drew close. Oh yeah, there was a science bowl on. Sure, whatever. And here we have the team set to challenge Shiksu High School for the gold medal. Coach Yagi announced in the packed auditorium as Midoriya shuffled down the aisles with his 7 teammates. Give it up for these 8 youngsters. Up on the stage, Sayurashi bolted upright, an eager look on his face. Wait a minute. No one told me there was a gold medal. I must win it. Kami giggled and eased him back down in his seat. It's just a figure of speech, Relax. Oh, it's real, Coach Yagi told her, his dazzling white teeth glinting. Kami bolted to her feet, an eager look on her face. Ooh, gimme. We have to win first, you creeps, Seiji muttered. Midoriya's mind was still back at the park as the audience clapped to welcome his team onto the stage. He glanced at 𝗧𝗪 as he took his seat with the others, but she didn't return his gaze. She seemed totally focused on the science bowl. Then Midoriya's cell phone vibrated in his pocket. What the? Midoriya checked the text message while Coach Yagi introduced his team again. It was a text from May. I see you and 𝗧𝗪 looking at each other with lovers' eyes. It's plain as day. The message read. Midoriya jolted and he swore he heard a teapot-like whistle as steam shot out of his ears. He automatically stared over at May, who gave him a cunning look. Young Midoriya, please put away all personal electronics, Coach Yagi gently chastised him. It's just you and your brain fighting for the top spot. Sorry. Midoriya shoved his phone into his pocket and wondered if he could reach the fire alarm from here to make his exit. Forget this fancy hotel. Who needed it? And now, we are ready to start. Coach Yagi boomed. All questions are worth double points, and these will be some tough ones. You lot ready? Yes, 16 teenagers declared, some with more enthusiasm than others. Inosuke alone could melt titanium with that voice of his. Coach Yagi did a flourish as he drew the top card from his stack of questions. Then let us begin. For 2 points, in the C system of measure, what is the unit of capacitance? Inosuke buzzed in like a cheetah on a sugar rush. Farad, he declared. Very well done. Coach Yagi exclaimed. Let's move right on. What is 25,000 miles per hour on Earth and 5,300 miles per hour on the moon? Shoto Todoroki buzzed right in, smooth and cool. escape velocity. He said, correct. Third question. Back and forth the two teams went, but Midoriya felt like he was stuck in a tar pit. Darn it. Why was the universe teasing him like this? He'd never had a real date before, and he had so much trouble approaching girls. He had his chance, and yoink, away it went. Maybe he was doomed to settle for a girlfriend pillow like Aoyama was rumored to have. Midoriya tightened his hands into fists. It was just so unfair. When would he get another chance? Buzz. Midoriya blinked. Yes, young Midoriya. Coach Yagi pointed right at the teenager in question, and his teammates were watching him. What was their problem? He started to sweat, unable to say a word. Wait, did he buzz into a question? Rocks, he blurted out, made of her face into her arms to hide her laughter while Bakugo made a sour face like he just lost a bet of $1 million, and Ada leaned a little closer to Midoriya. Izuku, please pay closer attention, or we will surely lose. Ada whispered urgently into his ear. Coach Yagi hesitated. That was a chemistry question. Seiji rolled his eyes and buzzed in. Carbon isotopes, he answered. Correct. Coach Yagi gave him the thumbs up, and Seiji rolled his eyes even harder. Seriously, they'd pop out of his head at this rate. Deku, are you all right? Ochako whispered from behind her cupped hand as Coach Yagi asked the next question. Izuku saw Ochako's innocent, curious brown eyes and flinched. If only he had a decent blanket so he could hide under it for a few hours. He just couldn't face anyone right now. Fine, he stammered. I'm fine. Okay, his language center was definitely kaput. Nice knowing you. And now, the final question. Coach Yagi announced in what felt like no time at all. He dramatically drew the final card, and toyed with it in his hand. Oh my, everything comes down this, doesn't it? The final crunch. It reminds me of my third year in high school, when the school's eyes were upon me as I had to take the final shot for the goal. Bakugo sprang to his feet. Ask the stupid question. He roared. Get on with it, old man. Coach Yagi had a dark rain cloud over his head. I'm only 34. He sobbed into his card, and Ms. Joke sprang onto the stage to comfort him. There, she consoled him. I'll tell you a funny joke to cheer you up. Coach Yagi blinked back the tears. Does it involve talking animals? Bakugo winced. Sorry, Mr. Yagi. I just want to win, that's all. We'd love to hear the final question. But of course, Coach Yagi struck a pose like a Greek statue and seemed to radiate cheer and glory. Silly me. Of course you kids are dying to know how this will turn out. This last question decides everything. Bakugo looked a bit happier. Let's do it. He sat back down and rubbed his hands. Coach Yagi read the final card. Besides solids, liquids, and gases, what is the fourth state of matter? Even the lovesick, preoccupied Midoriya snapped back into reality when he heard that one. What in the world? That question was so easy. Everyone would pounce on it like hungry jaguars. This was it. Would Midoriya's days of playing Xbox and his PSP finally pay off with his lightning-fast button-pressing reflexes? He bore his thumb down on that buzzer with all his might. Buzz, plasma, the Nisayurashi cried. He threw up 2 pairs of devil's horns like a heavy metal star. Coach Yagi tossed all his question cards into the air like confetti. Correct. Shiksu High School wins the first round of the second phase. Congratulations, kids. The audience broke into applause and Midoriya cautiously checked how Bakugo was holding up. Prepared for the molten eruption, instead he found Bakugo hunched forward, eyes distant as he muttered to himself Midoriya style. Momo looked concerned. Katsuki, what are? The points don't quite add up. We have a chance if Ketsubutsu High School loses to Seai Academy. Yeah, Ketsubutsu ain't that good. They'll lose to Seai for sure. Ms. Joke frowned. I heard that. She snapped. Now I won't let you hear my hysterical joke about the hungry goat that visits the chicken coop. Oh, I'd love to hear it. Coach Yagi eagerly leaned in closer to listen like a little boy who expected a popsicle. Bakugo totally ignored them as the sound effects for mutter swirled around him. We have the points to beat Ketsubutsu too, if they lose to Seai. Oh, but we needed about 6 more to get into range to overtake first unless I missed something. And I don't think Osamu Academy High School is even in the running based on how many points they got in the 1-point phase. But if Shoto knocked his knuckles on Bakugo's head, Earth to Katsuki. He said, we gotta go so the next teams can sit down. Don't touch me, half and half jerk. Bakugo sprang to his feet in fury, ironically doing what Shoto wanted. Hey, be nice. Itsuka Kendo scolded him. Bakugo sighed and finally cooled off a bit. Sorry, I'm just really pumped to win. We all are. Momo gently held Bakugo's shoulders. We would all love to get that gold medal. But without good sportsmanship, it's meaningless. I'm counting on you to make a good impression of our high school, okay? Bakugo grunted. Fine. Ada steered Bakugo toward the edge of the stage with the others. Well spoken, Momo Yaoyorozu. He cried. I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, I just told him what you'd say, Momo said with a bashful smile. You're the class representative, after all. Momo, you do me much honor. 𝐵 slapped 𝐒𝐫 on the back. Oh, for Pete's sake, just take her out on a date already. What? 𝐒𝐫 seemed to have a heart attack, and he and 𝗵𝘃𝐻 both sprawled onto the stage in an awkward heap. Momo went bright red. 𝐵, mind your own business, if you please. And you. 𝐵 draped her arm around Midoriya's shoulders. You'll get your chance, Izuku. Don't look so down in the dumps. Sheesh. Midoriya felt himself blush, and he met Achako's eyes for just a second before she blushed even redder and glanced away. If everyone's done playing matchmaker, Shoto tried to look grumpy as he squeezed his way through the crowd. But May grabbed him by his shirt collar. And what about you, Mr. Stud? May teased him. Half the girls in our school are nuts about you. Surely you like one of them back. Shoto tried to escape May's death grip. Someone help me out here. Somehow, I don't think I can, Itsuka said with a sly grin. Sorry, Shoto. Don't make me freeze your fingers, Shoto warned May. I can make them numb in 2 seconds flat. Oh, you wouldn't, May said with a giggle. Shoto sighed. You got me. I wouldn't. No one even noticed the 𝐒𝐽 Academy students walking past them to take their turn. Nor did they notice the odd looks the Academy students were giving them. Finally, Ms. Joke gently ushered them away and off the stage. Great job, guys, she said kindly as they walked down the steps to the auditorium's aisles. I know I'm supposed to root for my school most of all, but, well, if my Shota is rooting for you all, then so am I. Just take him out to dinner already, May told Ms. Joke, aiming her love cannon right at the older woman. Maybe some nice wine will loosen him up. Ms. Joke gasped. You're right. I never thought of that. Thanks for the idea. Shoto gawked. You can't be serious. Ms. Joke made a crafty smile. I've got to hurry and make a reservation for a table for 2. See you all later. She hurried off, more hearts floating around her. Midoriya gave May an impressed look. Cupid has nothing on you. May winked. That kid wishes. Midoriya felt a little better as he found seats to watch the next round with his teammates. But Achako didn't seem ready to be near him again. She made sure that 𝗵𝘃𝐻, Momo, and 𝐒𝐫 were all between her and him, and she kept her gaze on the far wall, her hands loosely clenched into fists on her lap. No, I didn't push her too far, did I? Midoriya went right back into panic mode as a 𝐒𝐽 student buzzed in on the stage. He felt ice-cold dread grip his heart. If I overwhelmed her with my rash move earlier today, and she's confused and resents me for putting all this pressure on her, I could have ruined everything. Or maybe she's into me but doesn't know how to express it. No, she wouldn't look quite so freaked out. I could ask one of her girlfriends what's going on and try to be subtle about what I'm really after. No, I've never been smooth and cool like Shoto is. Man, he really is like ice cream. Gah, Midoriya yelped when 𝗵𝘃𝐻 gently conked his fist on Midoriya's head. I know that face, 𝗵𝘃𝐻 said with a teasing grin. Fool it, Deku. Live in the moment. Breathe. Yeah, you're totally Mr. Zen. Oh Lord, explosion murder, Midoriya teased right back. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 made I'll kick your butt one of these days look and turned his attention back to the stage. Midoriya turned his attention back to the science bowl too, but he was positively dying to leave this emotionally turbulent hotel and go back home, and try to use a combination of calculus, a magic 8-ball, and a few science experiments to figure out just what the hell was going on with his social life. But there was still one other thing he was eager to find out. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 seized his head and wailed when, 3 hours later, Coach Yagi announced that Shiksu High School won the annual Science Bowl for the 4th year running. No one heard him, though. The audience was clapping nice and loudly as 𝐴𝐻 and the others bowed in gratitude. But 𝐴𝐻 looked less thrilled when Coach Yagi presented the gold medal, which turned out to be a cheap dollar store toy gold medal. Amy took it instead and acted graciously, unlike her disappointed teammates. Well, there's always next year, Momo said casually a while later as her friends crossed the hotel's lobby to catch their waiting bus. Still, I had great fun with this year. I feel like I really grew as a person. She smiled. Yeah, Itsuka started, until a brawny special someone burst onto the scene. Well fought. Inosuke draped one arm over 𝗵𝘃𝐻's shoulders and the other across Midoriya's. Whoa, what a great time. I'll never forget this, guys. Oh great, it's you, 𝗵𝘃𝐻 muttered. I am so impressed with how great you guys did. Inosuke plowed on. I mean, 2nd place. That's still incredible. I consider each and every one of you my honored rivals. I shall work very hard to compete with you next year as well. I shall do my best. Rivals? 𝗵𝘃𝐻 thought it over, then managed a cocky grin. Good enough for me. Bring it on. Inosuke threw back his head and laughed. Oh, I shall. And with that, I shall say goodbye. He firmly patted 𝗵𝘃𝐻 and Midoriya each on the shoulders and skipped off to rejoin his Shiksu classmates across the lobby. Momo winced and rubbed her ears. If he ever gets his hands on a megaphone, he'll shatter the Earth's crust for sure. Hey, new science bowl question, Achako joked. How many decibels does it take for a high schooler to shatter stone? Momo groaned. Too many for my taste. Midoriya smiled and tried to meet Achako's eyes again, and she met them with a brief smile before she looked away. No more delay. It would be rude to keep the bus driver waiting. Ida cried, making his usual arm motions. Mr. Aizawa will surely be upset that we are so late. Hurry. But when they got on the bus, they found Aizawa lounging on a seat, reading a magazine. Oh, there you guys are, Aizawa mumbled. Have a seat. Let's go home. He turned a page in his magazine. Midoriya snorted with laughter as he sat down and the bus got moving. That anticlimactic. Huh, Ida? Ada's glasses panes glinted. Early is on time. On time is late. Late. Momo gently placed a hand over Ada's mouth, forever robbing anyone of knowing what late was. Hush, she said, putting a finger over her lips. Let's have a nice quiet drive home. MMMFMMM. Ada responded ever so eloquently. Momo beamed. Wonderful. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when the bus finally arrived back in town and Midoriya stepped out of the bus with the others. It was another chilly afternoon, and Midoriya stretched his arms wide, not liking being cooped up in buses and cars like that. He could really use a bike ride. But it was kind of chilly out. See you guys in class, Midoriya cried, waving as everyone went their own ways home. Ochako went ahead, going in the same direction as Midoriya's house. She turned long enough to cheerily wave goodbye, then hurried off. Was she feeling bashful? Best to leave her alone for now. Kaken, Midoriya offered as the students scattered to walk home. Why don't we stretch our legs and visit the manga shop? There might be something new. Works for me, 𝗵𝘃𝐻 said with a shrug. I don't have much else planned for today. He glanced over and watched Ochako leave. Hey, Deku, things are getting pretty serious between you and the Uraraka girl, aren't they? Kaken, Midoriya blurted, and he felt himself go red. He shifted from one foot to the other. That's private. Oh, give me a break. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 grinned and gave Midoriya a light punch on the shoulder. You're just gonna let her walk home alone. You wanna still be single by Christmas Eve this year. Midoriya watched Ochako turn a corner in her neighborhood and vanish from view behind a house. She looked so lovely, walking so happily through the sunlit afternoon, not a care in the world. Truly the girl next door. Well, Kaken, things feel delicate right now. We had a moment, See, 𝗵𝘃𝐻 rubbed his hands together. Now you're becoming a real man, Deku. And real men finish the job. But Midoriya could hardly explain this to himself, let alone the blunt and aggressive Kaken. He'd need a counselor at this rate. Midoriya cleared his throat. We were gonna kiss, that's my boy. Midoriya winced, but her mom called and interrupted, and she had to go. And now she's kinda avoiding me. He glanced down in dismay, staring at his red shoes. Now I'm thinking that she's all flustered and doesn't know how to process our budding relationship. What if I push too hard and scare her off? 𝗵𝘃𝐻 snorted. Fat chance. She wasn't scared off by me. What could you do to scare her off, short of chase her with a knife and hockey mask? What a visual that was. Kaken, I just think I have to give her more time. That's all. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 sighed. Scaredy cat Deku strikes again. You're wasting the gift I gave you, man. I went on a lame date with her just to make this possible. I swear, I'll get there. Midoriya puffed out his chest and made a brave smile. You know me, the stubborn kid. I'll find a chance. I can make anything happen. For better or worse. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 made a casual salute and walked off to go home. Best of luck, Deku. Don't crash and burn. Just keep your quirk to yourself, and I won't, Midoriya teased back. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 chuckled and trotted off. That was when Midoriya's phone rang. That's gotta be Mom. Midoriya drew his phone from his jeans pocket and blinked at the unexpected caller ID on the screen. He accepted the call. Denki, Midoriya. Denki's voice blubbered on the phone. Whoa, Midoriya could smell the pathetic from here. I am in trouble, man. Whoa, just settle down, Midoriya said. What's the matter? Jay, just come here. Okay, be right there. Midoriya felt apprehension as he shut off his phone and jogged to the Kaminari house, which was just a block away from here. Did he break a leg or erase all the music on his computer by accident? Was he being chased by a madman with a knife and hockey mask? That wouldn't be the weirdest thing that ever happened to Denki. Oh, Izuku, welcome. A blonde man who was no doubt Denki's dad said when he answered the door. Are you here to see Denki? He's not feeling well. Yeah, something like that. Thanks for inviting me in. Midoriya changed into guest house slippers and followed the directions to Denki's room. He knocked on the door, and a low moan answered. Taking that as a yes, Midoriya rolled his eyes and stepped inside. Denki sat huddled in blankets in the middle of his queen-sized bed. A box of tissues nearby, about 1,000 crumpled, used tissues lay around him. Even worse, a sad breakup song played on his laptop speakers. Aside from all that, this place was a little more gaudy than Midoriya expected. The blankets were weird colors, and Denki had a strange assortment of a dartboard, a collection of baseball caps, a basketball, and action movie posters on the wall. The room had a delicate scent somewhere between stale Doritos and used basketball shoes. Terrific. Midoriya shut the door behind him. So, what's the emergency? It's Mina. Denki sniffed and reached for another tissue. She won't answer my texts or calls at all, man. She's given me the cold shoulder. and it's freaking me out. Midoriya sat at the desk's chair and lowered the laptop's speaker volume. What was the last thing she said to you? He asked politely. His friends liked to say that he was the Steve Harvey of their group, so here he was, dispensing more relatively good advice. At least, it always beat the gems that Aoyama and Mineta managed to come up with. Denki blew his nose, tears bubbling in his eyes. She said. She said, Denki, I need more time to think about this. Give me some space. 𝗳𝗏𝗄𝗵𝗲 Deku. Denki threw up his arms in dismay, scattering crumpled tissues everywhere like popcorn. That's where relationships go to die, I think. He slumped forward and went face down on his bed. I think she broke up with me, Deku. It's over, isn't it? He groaned and moaned like a ghost fighting indigestion. Not necessarily, Midoriya said, trying to sound helpful and not show his hard he was mentally rolling his eyes. Don't get ahead of yourself. You and Mina just recently got together. She needs to figure out the pacing and what she wants out of the relationship. Normally, this is the honeymoon period for a new relationship, but I guess she's being more cautious than that. It's not necessarily such a bad thing. Denki sprang back upright with a disbelieving look on his face. What are you, Cosmopolitan? Midoriya snorted. You called me here. Denki made a faint grin. Oh yeah, seriously, though, it sounds like you're making things up, Denki. No, I'm not. Denki seized his head and made another groan. She's been giving me the silent treatment. And before that, she started acting all moody and kept being all passive-aggressive. And yes, I can spot those things for myself, he added, giving Midoriya an accusing look. I think she can't stand me, Deku. She totally hates me. Midoriya racked his brains. Mina was one of the most popular girls in the school, always gossiping about others and getting gossiped about in return. Did Midoriya's ears catch anything about Mina recently? Well, Gyro voiced an assumption that Mina was going to get braces soon, but that didn't seem relevant. A girl from Class 1B criticized a hair accessory Mina once wore, but that wasn't relevant either. 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗲. Denki sniffed again. What do I do, man? Either she broke up with me, or she's gonna do it soon. Midoriya exhaled slowly. Let me guess, you haven't had a chance to talk it over with her. I can't even get a like from her on Facebook. Whoa, that's rough. So what do I do? This wasn't how Midoriya planned to spend his afternoon. But hell, Denki was a friend, and so was Mina. Looked like this was a job for the Steve Harvey of this harebrained town. Midoriya grinned and clasped his hands together. I'll get everything ready by tomorrow, he said. You get all the dudes in classes 1 and 1B ready. Denki looked hopeful. What for? Do you have a plan? Just let me work my magic. Midoriya wasn't the type to abandon a friend in need, especially not a big baby like Denki Kaminari. So in homeroom, he sent a few strategic paper notes to Ida and Bakugo. And all through his morning classes, Midoriya had his mind on the mission and barely even noticed what Present Mike was saying in class. All the while, Midoriya kept giving Denki little nods of encouragement and even a wink, and Denki looked a little happier. Then the lunch bell finally rang, and it was time to send in the squad. I must say, Midoriya, this is a most intriguing idea, Ida said as he sat down at the table with Midoriya and Bakugo, setting down his lunch tray. A sociology experiment. I am impressed. Bakugo snorted. Don't flatter him, Ida, or me. We're just trying to get dumbass Denki back into shape, and we're gonna cheat our way there. Ida stiffened. I am opposed to all forms of cheating. Bakugo took a bite of his sandwich. Chicken out if you want, 4 eyes. I am no chicken. And I am proud of my glasses. Ida barked. He noticed a few people staring at him, so he went pink and lowered his voice. Just please tell me that we are doing this for the most honest of reason. Midoriya pointed with his chopsticks. I'm trying to help a friend. How does that sit with you? Ida nodded in approval. I am ready to start. Great. Midoriya drew out the 3 sheets of paper he'd been hiding under his shirt and gave the other guys pencils. Start interviewing. Ida, you take that table over there, and Kaken, try that table near the windows. Bakugo made a sly grin as he stood up. Oh, the things I'll ask him. Midoriya pouted. Just don't be a creep. You're not gonna freak them out, are you? Hey, you know me, Deku. Bakugo gave Midoriya a light punch on the arm and departed for his mission. Ida looked confused. Was that a yes or a no? Midoriya sighed. You never know with, let's start. Trying not to feel self-conscious, Midoriya got up and approached a nearby table, mentally reciting his lines as he tried not to sweat. Damn, this suddenly felt really intimidating, like he was stepping onto a stage. Break a leg, Deku. At the target table, Tsuyu, Momo, Gyro, and Mina were all laughing and chatting with 2 girls from Class 1B, and they looked up when Midoriya nervously approached them and cleared his throat. Hey there, Izuku, Toru said warmly. What's up? Midoriya swallowed and felt himself go red. Why, you see, Ida's big brother Tensei is doing a project for his sociology class in college, so, he faltered as all the girls giggled at him. So, you need a lady's perspective, huh? 𝗂𝗲 said with an expression not unlike Bakugo's. She casually rested her chin on one hand, twirling one of her earphone jacks with her finger. Something like that, Midoriya said evasively. He motioned. See, can I join you for a few minutes? The girls giggled again as Mina motioned to the empty seat next to her. Feeling like a lamb in a den of lionesses, Midoriya sat and prepared to write. He felt all eyes on him. So, Midoriya said, trying to sound professional. Girls, what is the number one thing you look for in a relationship? 𝗂𝗲 and Mina stifled loud giggles behind their hands, and Momo went pink. Who's asking? She said quickly. It's for Ada's brother, Midoriya said, going with the same story that Ida and Bakugo were using. He needs a large sample size, so, he motioned. Any honest answer is okay with me. 𝗂𝗲 could barely contain herself. As sorry, she choked out, motioning with a hand. I can't believe one of the dorks has the spine to just ask that. Midoriya narrowed his eyes. I'm sitting right here. You sure are. 𝗂𝗲 fanned herself and tried to stop giggling. Okay, since it's for Ada's brother, can I admit something that no one else is allowed to hear? Midoriya's hair stood up on end as 𝗂𝗲 loomed huge over him with flames everywhere, her eyes glowing and her teeth sharp. 𝗂𝗲. 𝗂𝗲 seized Midoriya's shirt collar. Swear to me, little boy. I swear. Apparently. Good. 𝗂𝗲's demon aura vanished and was replaced with sparkles and roses as she made a sentimental face. I actually like really romantic guys who dress nice and give you roses just because. And they'll write little personal notes in the flowers and we'll watch Netflix with you all night. Momo looked impressed. That was wonderful, Kyoka. Midoriya hurried to write that down. I never would have guessed. I know. 𝗂𝗲 beamed, then grabbed both of Midoriya's shoulders and shook him hard, her fire aura back. But don't you dare tell anyone. I won't. Lips are sealed. 𝗂𝗲 calmed down and sat back. Thanks. Midoriya gave her a resentful look. And the survey is anonymous anyway. 𝗂𝗲 resumed twirling her earphone jack and glanced away. Sure. Midoriya rounded on Tsuyu. How about you? What is the number one thing you want in a relationship? Trust, Tsuyu said without hesitation. I can't be with someone if I can't know that they will always be faithful and act in the relationship's best interest. And I always try to be someone others can trust, too. Ribbit. Finally, a really good answer. Midoriya wrote it down. Toru, how about you? Ooh. Toru waved her arms. I want to date a guy who takes me to the carnival and the arcade and wins me stuffed teddy bears. 'Cause they're cute. Midoriya winced. That wasn't quite the right answer. Well, it's my answer, Toru insisted. No teddies, no date. Midoriya tried not to roll his eyes as he wrote it. Momo, how about you? Momo struck up a classy pose, with a background of harps and cherubs. Oh, what I want most out of a meaningful relationship is a sense of adventure and excitement. I would want every day to show me a new side of myself and him. Got it. Midoriya wrote it down. Adventure, huh? I can buy myself anything I want, Momo added, unaware of how the other girls glared at her. I don't want for material things or vacations. Rather, she made a dainty sigh. I want a relationship where I can break out of the tedium and find new vistas to ascend with my beloved. She stared wistfully into the distance. Dream on, princess, 𝗂𝗲 muttered. Momo gets kind of oblivious sometimes. Midoriya turned to one of the girls from Class 1B. Pony Tsunotori, right. What do you want most in a relationship? The petite girl blushed and looked away, gently clapping her hand to her cheeks. She stammered. Mina made a sympathetic noise. She's really shy, Izuku, especially around boys. She just likes to hang out with us. Plus, she's still learning Japanese. Oh, all right. Midoriya carefully reached out and patted Pony's back. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Oh, Pony timidly pressed her index fingertips together, staring down at them. Well, I'm listening. Pony beamed. Fun. Oh yeah. Like, with riding horses, feed horses, go to horse show with boyfriend, have stuffed horsey. Pony giggled. You like horses, Izuku? I like horses. I guess. The last time Midoriya tried to ride one of those things, he got thrown off, and his furious mom had nearly thrown the horse trainer off the stable roof. Good times. Izuku wrote obsessed with horses onto the paper and turned to the other 1B girl. Ryuko Yanagi, right. How about you? What do you want the most in a relationship? The girl, who had a blank expression and held her hands limply like a zombie, stared at him. Her lips barely moved. Izuku made a bracing smile. Are you feeling all right? I want a man who will take me to the cemetery, Ryuko abruptly said. Who will play guessing games with me on the tombstones and eat a picnic on the oldest grave for good luck and will tame the crows and challenge the haunted spirits to truth or dare and will. Pony shrieked and clapped a hand over Rin's mouth. Scary, she cried. No ghost, no grave. Okay. Ryuko said something muffled from behind Pony's hand but didn't resist. She shrugged. She talk a lot, Pony told Midoriya. Scary sometimes. See. Midoriya sighed and wrote love's creepy things on his paper and looked over his answers. Only Tsuyu's response was really useful. He prayed for good luck and turned to Mina. How about you? Mina glanced up, and this time, Midoriya knew exactly what Mina had on her mind. This was the mission, get Mina to explain her relationship problem without realizing this was all about her. I'm a genius. Midoriya imagined himself as a mad scientist who, despite his charred white lab coat, held up the beaker that had the magic elixir of how girls think. Eureka! What I want most in a relationship is, well, Mina was cut off when 𝗵𝘃𝐽 erupted. What kind of stupid question is that? He roared. Who cares if it's a Ferris wheel or a merry-go-round? Nearby students bust out laughing, and like usual, 𝗵𝘃𝐽 failed to notice when he was making a scene. Midoriya rolled his eyes and got up. Excuse me, everyone. I have a fire to put out. Not literally, I hope. But I want to know which, the vine-haired girl, 𝗷𝗫𝗍𝒫𝐵 said earnestly. Is this hypothetical date ending on a merry-go-round or the Ferris wheel? I've got to know which. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 ground his teeth. Flip a damn coin and decide. Please don't use swear words. Fine. Which do you want? You may decide if you like, Katsuki. Paint me a mental image. The Ferris wheel cause it's bigger. Midoriya gave everyone an apologetic smile and eased 𝗵𝘃𝐽 away from the table of Class 1B students. Thank you for your time, everyone. We're just practicing a comedy skit. Don't mind us. He escorted 𝗵𝘃𝐽 back to their original seat inside. What was that all about, Kakin? Everyone at this school is such a dork, 𝗵𝘃𝐽 said with a snort. No offense, Deku. Some taken. All these people are asking dumb questions, 𝗵𝘃𝐽 said with another snort. Whoa, 2 snorts in a row. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 wasn't playing games here. But did you get any good answers? What did you ask? I asked what's your dream date? And the answers were. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 cleared his throat and read aloud. The arcade, fishing, literally nothing, Netflix, and the arcade. He lowered his paper. I guess Denki has to make up with Mina at the arcade. I hear the air hockey table is so romantic this time of year. Midoriya chuckled. Sorry about that, Kakin. We'll just have to keep trying. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 swiped Midoriya's paper. What did you ask? What the main thing they want in a relationship is? 𝗵𝘃𝐽 scanned the list. Who the hell did you ask? That foreigner girl with the horns, Momo, Tsuyu, that weird ghost girl from Class 1B, and 𝐸. Midoriya suddenly remembered Kyoka Jiro's demon aura and he winced. As some girl from Class 1 degrees Celsius who happened to be there. No one we know, just some girl. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 nodded in appreciation at the list. So according to this, Denki should give Mina roses on horseback in a graveyard. Sounds like a Tim Burton movie. Midoriya blinked. You watch Tim Burton movies? 𝗵𝘃𝐽 rolled his eyes. No, but my mom is nuts about them. Just when I get the music from The Nightmare Before Christmas out of my head, she replaces it with the Beetlejuice theme song. I'm gonna go psycho at this rate. Already there, buddy. Midoriya scratched his head. Well, this is kind of a bust. Unless Ida got better answers. Both boys waited until Tenya Ida returned with his own paper. But any hopes for useful information were dashed when Ida set down the paper. I am not sure what to make of this, Ida said, sliding the paper across the table to Midoriya and 𝗵𝘃𝐽. I asked the girls to give numerical scores to everything that they could want in a relationship, and this is the result. Midoriya took one look at the paper and felt like he'd require a master's degree in statistics to make sense of this crazy mess of numbers and charts. He'd need about 3 more brains to untangle this thing. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 whistled. What's all that? It looks like the equation to solve the mysteries of the universe. Ida adjusted his glasses. I subjected the girls to a rigorous examination based on their emotional processing, their social dynamics with boys, their self-perception, and how this information integrates into the larger body of modern sociology and statistics. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 started folding up the paper. Yeah, go on, 4 eyes. Ida stared. Katsuki 𝗵𝘃𝐽. What are you doing? Making this thing useful, 𝗵𝘃𝐽 muttered as he narrowed his eyes in concentration. He held up the finished paper airplane, took aim, and threw it. It sailed clear across the cafeteria, drawing a few curious looks along the way. Youch! Ijiro Kirishima yelped when 𝗵𝘃𝐽's paper airplane nailed him in the right eyeball. Other students burst out laughing. Ida made an indignant noise. What was that for? 𝗵𝘃𝐽 shrugged. He still owes me 4,000 yen for when I let him cash to buy that new Wii U game. I'm sending a message. Ida sighed. You are evil sometimes, Katsuki 𝗵𝘃𝐽. I try to pace myself. 𝗵𝘃𝐽 glanced at Midoriya. Damn it, Deku. What are we supposed to do now? Midoriya caught Denki's eye, and the other boy gave him a hopeful pair of thumbs up. Midoriya returned the gesture, but he felt guilty about it. Let's try again tomorrow. Fresh start. He extended a hand. Team fix the relationship. A noble endeavor. Ida put his hand over Midoriya's, and 𝗵𝘃𝐽 reluctantly did the same. The 3 boys raised their hands at the same time as a gesture of team solidarity. This plan was going to crash and burn, wasn't it? Midoriya studied hard that night, not on his classwork, but on the questionnaire that he'd present to the girls the next day. Denki and Mina's relationship was on the line here. And those were some high stakes. And in that morning's homeroom, he passed copies of his new and improved questionnaire to 𝗵𝘃𝐻 and 𝗧𝗏 and prepared himself for the hard work ahead of him. The lunch bell rang. It was showtime, except the girls made their move first. Hey, guys, Mina said cheerily as she, 𝗂𝗏𝗄, Toru, and 𝐒𝐿𝐵 𝐵𝘃𝐻 approached Midoriya's table. The girls all held papers and pens. My cousin is taking a sociology class at the community college and she asked me to help her collect some data. How'd you like to help out? Midoriya was halfway through getting out his own questionnaire when he froze. I thought your cousins lived in Yokohama, 𝗵𝘃𝐻 said. Mina blushed. Well, one of them lives here, so aren't you all gonna help me? Of course we will. 𝗧𝗏 bolted to his feet and bowed abruptly. I will do anything for the pursuit of knowledge. Your cousin's work is in good hands. Whoa there, champ. Don't speak for me. 𝗵𝘃𝐻 had veins standing out on his face as he forced 𝗧𝗏 back into his seat. Who said I'd help? Midoriya elbowed 𝗵𝘃𝐻 to get his attention and glanced covertly in Denki's direction, then glanced at Mina. The gears in 𝗵𝘃𝐻's head cranked until he finally got it, and he settled back down. Okay, fine, whatever. Great, let's get started. Mina sat down opposite 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝘃𝐻, while Toru sat across from Denki and Yosuaways from Class 1B. 𝗂𝗏𝗄, meanwhile, beamed as she sat across from Midoriya. This is gonna be fun, 𝗂𝗏𝗄 said, going a little pink. I get to pick your brain, Deku. You're such a smart guy. Thanks, 𝗂𝗏𝗄. Midoriya tried to suppress a wide grin as his heart raced excitedly. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 looked so happy, and she was about to probe the deepest depths of his mind. Wait, that sounded kind of insidious phrased like that. She was gonna expose his inner secrets. No, that was worse. Well, what is your idea of commitment? 𝗂𝗏𝗄 asked, pen poised over her paper. 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵. Midoriya rubbed his chin. He knew what 𝗂𝗏𝗄 and Mina were doing, but he had to either give his honest answer or something that Mina and Denki needed to hear to fix their relationship. What to do, knowing that every day I get the pleasure of seeing the same wonderful girl by my side, Midoriya said. Maybe he ought to give those two buffoons a sense of gratitude to each other to ease their hostile feeling. That could work. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 beamed. That's so sweet, Deku. Let me write that down. She scribbled something in hiragana and looked back up. What does healthy communication look like? Sheesh, Mina's questions are on point. Midoriya realized that his own questionnaire was beating around the bush compared to this. Healthy communication. Midoriya glanced around, checking out both Mina and Denki. What did those dunderheads need for better communication? It means that both people in a couple share what's important to the relationship, and not just what's important to them, Midoriya finally said. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 held a hand over her heart. You're such a gentleman, Deku. I've got to write that down before I forget it. She scribbled down his answer and idly tapped her pen on her paper. Question 3. If you found out that your girlfriend only had 6 months to live, what would you do? Midoriya made the mortal mistake of taking a sip of his juice at that moment and he nearly choked. What? 𝗂𝗏𝗄 giggled. Sorry, Mina's cousin needs a question based on a sense of urgency. Cousin, my foot. Midoriya scratched his head. I'm guessing that taking her on her dream vacation is a bit cliché, right? Whatever's your honest answer is okay with me. Midoriya glanced at Denki and Mina again, and this time 𝗂𝗏𝗄 said something. How come you look at Denki and Mina after each question? They're looking pretty good today, Midoriya blurted out. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 smiled. I know, Mina's new eyeshadow is really pretty. I didn't even notice. Lucky coincidence. Midoriya cleared his throat. I'll just give a general answer and say I'd cherish the time we have left instead of dreading what comes afterward. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 wrote that down. Close enough. Close enough. Oops. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 gasped and clapped her hands over her mouth. Well, now she was the one who glanced at both Denki and Mina, going even redder. Midoriya decided to play dumb, even though he knew darn well that this was Mina's return fire for Midoriya's interviews yesterday. What's wrong? Are you okay? Fine. Thanks. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 nervously fumbled with her paper and pen. When you meet a girl you really like, how do you express it? Midoriya nearly gasped himself. No way. Mina couldn't have assigned that question. It came straight from 𝗂𝗏𝗄 herself. Oh man. Midoriya realized that the same angel, devil pair appeared on his shoulders as the time he walked with 𝗂𝗏𝗄 at the hotel park. The tough guy adjusted his sunglasses. She's into you, kiddo. The devil, Midoriya said. Make your move, pal. Throw yourself at her while you still got the chance. Ridiculous. The gentleman, Midoriya said as he shook his head. Be subtle. Ease her to you, like how you hold out your hand for a butterfly. Devil, Midoriya scoffed. Lame. Midoriya brushed both shoulders and imagined both mini versions being swept off. He cleared his throat again and stalled for time. That's a pretty gutsy question. 𝗂𝗏𝗄 managed to go even redder. I mean, it's just for Mina's cousin's project. Oh, she kept fiddling with her pen until she dropped it, and she bent to pick it up. Midoriya took this chance to steal her paper and check for anything odd. Sure enough, he saw find out what Denki's up to. written in Mina's handwriting, the characters all underlined twice. He hastily put the paper back just as 𝗂𝗧𝗏 sat back up. Did you think of an answer? 𝗂𝗧𝗏 asked, avoiding eye contact. She acted bashful, clasping her hands in her lap. She's just so darn cute when she's flustered. Midoriya tried to hide a wide smile. I'd just make her feel special, like she's the only girl I can think about. I'd be her friend, and I'd be there for anything else, too. 𝗂𝗧𝗏 giggled. You're so old-fashioned. She wrote it down. But I love it. Meanwhile, Torohagakure wasn't having as much luck. What's her idea of healthy communication? The invisible girl asked her two subjects. Denki merely shrugged and looked away while 𝐒𝐗sua leaned forward, a confident look on his face. Let me tell you this, babe. My parents bought this killer new hot tub. And I could have a nice long chat with any chick in that thing once the water's hot enough. Toru made an excited noise. Your parents have a hot tub. Can I try it sometime? 𝐒𝐗sua made a sly grin. How many hot friends it got? Denki snorted. Oh, I have another question. Toru held up her paper to read off of it. What's your idea of commitment? Giving my girl a free pass to the 𝐒𝐻𝑆 hot tub whenever she likes it, 𝐒𝐗sua said with a smirk. My parents are out of town all the time. We get the place to ourselves. Oh, quit showing off, Denki grumbled. Question 3. Toru cheered. If you found out that your girlfriend only had 6 months to live, what would you do? 𝐒𝐗sua reclined in his seat. Bring her to my hot tub. Dude, shut up. Denki erupted, throwing up both hands. 𝐒𝐗sua didn't seem to notice. Mina wasn't getting far, either. That's not a real answer, Katsuki. Mina snapped. I asked what healthy communication means to you. Just chill isn't an answer. But it's my real answer, 𝗵𝘃𝐲 retorted. I'm not talking about hanging out with your guy friends. Mina told him, thumping both fists on the table. Say something real. Midoriya. Meanwhile, shot 𝗵𝘃𝐲 a look that clearly said dude, shape up. 𝗵𝘃𝐲 shaped up. It means always having an honest dialogue for the good of the relationship, 𝗵𝘃𝐲 said hastily before he could screw it up. Mina looked happier as she wrote that down. Okay, good. What is your idea of commitment? Third base. 𝗵𝘃𝐲 held up both hands palm out to calm everyone down. It means hanging in there even when times are tough. Especially when times are tough, because that's when commitment is tested. Mina smiled. That's wonderful, Katsuki. It made me forget what an ogre you are. That's the nicest thing any girl ever said to me. Ida slapped a hand over his face. Another question. Toru told Denki and 𝐒𝐗sua. What would you do if your girlfriend was mad at you and didn't tell you why? 𝐒𝐗sua snapped his fingers. I got it. What? Denki grumbled. Take her to my hot tub. I'll kill you. Denki tackled 𝐒𝐗sua to the floor and both boys enjoyed a good mock fight that 𝐒𝐗sua totally won. Okay, that's enough, bozos, Itsuka Kendo said grumpily, holding up both boys by their uniform collars like they were bags of potatoes. I won that, 𝐒𝐗sua said with pride. Barely, Denki said hastily. Itsuka dropped them both to the floor. Unbelievable. Both 𝐒𝐽tsu and Denki shook hands. No hard feelings, right? 𝐒𝐗sua asked. None, Denki said with a wide grin. 𝗂𝗧𝗏 giggled again. They're so funny. So, she glanced down at her paper again, even though she had already written down an answer for the final question. What kind of girls do you like, Deku? Midoriya could have sworn he just shot through the roof and ended up in the stratosphere. 𝗂𝗧𝗏 was going straight for the prize. What a champ. And Midoriya honestly wasn't sure what the answer was besides 𝗂𝗧𝗏 Uraraka. Midoriya made a nervous smile as he scratched his hair, looking this way and that. Well, 𝗂𝗧𝗏 leaned forward eagerly. Her lovely brown eyes fixed right on her subject. What is it? She asked breathlessly. Well, Midoriya gestured vaguely. And then his and 𝗂𝗧𝗏's eyes met, and they kept their gazes locked way longer than an interviewer and subject should. Midoriya felt the heat rise in his face as 𝗂𝗧𝗏's eyes widened as she took in Midoriya's unspoken meaning. And never mind. 𝗂𝗧𝗏 drew back and turned away. Hands over her bright red face. I just made that one up. The interview's over. Thanks for helping. She snatched up her paper and dashed across the cafeteria and toward the girls' bathroom. Momo watched 𝗂𝗧𝗏 go and stood up. Please excuse me. I must visit the lavatory, she said loftily, then sprinted across the cafeteria and into the bathroom. I gotta use the toilet. Toru bolted to her feet and scrambled across the cafeteria into, you guessed it, the girls' room. Whoa, Denki said. Those girls must have drank too much water. 𝐒𝐗sua clapped a hand over his face. Dumbass. Girls all go to the bathroom together when they have something super important to talk about. I'll be right back, Mina told 𝗵𝘃𝐲 and Ida, and she made it 4 for 4. Denki gasped. This means. He shared a gaze with Midoriya that clearly said Mina's up to something. Deku nodded. We're almost there, Denki. Where? Ida asked. To academic achievement, of course, Midoriya added. Ida saluted. Of course. Do your best, everyone. Ada was smart, but it was weirdly easy to trick him sometimes. By the time the bell rang that ended lunch hour, Midoriya joined his classmates in algebra class. He was feeling pretty confident in the plan. And if the universe cooperated with him just this once, Mina and Denki could put their squabbling behind them. Those kids could use a break. And the way 𝗂𝗧𝗄 looked into his eyes when she asked those questions, with that maiden's longing, it gave him goosebumps. What a good day. Homeroom on October 14th would have been nice and quiet, but Toru Hagakure burst into the classroom 5 minutes late, holding 2 flyers in her hands. Guys, she cried. Aizawa gave her an annoyed look. You're late, Hagakure. And what's with the noise? I've already got a headache from last night. He rubbed his head as though daring everyone to ask what he was doing the night prior. No one was feeling brave enough to look under that rock. But, look, Toru lowered her voice to an excited whisper as she showed the colorful flyers to everyone, skipping through the aisles between the desks. It's 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲 the pop idol. She's coming into town tonight. Can you believe it? Momo looked curious as she looked up from browsing her history book. Who is that? Who? Toru sounded outraged at Momo's ignorance, and she hopped right over and shoved both flyers in Momo's face. Only Japan's hottest pop idol, that's who. I never thought she'd come into town. Hey, I've heard of her, Gyro said, her eyes widening. Mom mentioned her. Isn't she doing her farewell tour right now? Toru waved both flyers around like a bird's wings. That's right, which is why we gotta go. It's our last chance to see the woman herself. Who's with me? Bakugo snorted. Were you late cause you stole those poster things from telephone poles? I can see the staples in M. Well, Toru hid the flyers behind her back. Forget that. You wanna go, Katsuki? I'd rather jump off a bridge. Steam shot from where Toru's ears probably were. You're so mean, Katsuki. Lots of people like her. She's got hit songs like Tomorrow's Valentine and Passion Thursday. She's been on the radio all the time. Can't hear the radio when I'm on my PlayStation on full volume. Come on, who wants to go with me? She'll be at Uena Park at 6, Toru pleaded with her classmates. She started doing a funny happy dance. I'll buy matcha for whoever comes with me. Matcha. 𝗂𝗧𝗄 bolted to her feet with an excited look as though Toru offered her a fat stack of yen. Count me in. Deku, you could come with me. It'll be fun. Midoriya, who was reviewing English verb tenses for this afternoon's class, perked up when 𝗂𝗧𝗄 invited him, and he felt an eager grin tug at the corners of his lips. Not that he was dying to hear Tomorrow's Valentine live, but 𝗂𝗧𝗄 was inviting him out. Was this their first date? Of course I will, he said automatically. Great. 𝗂𝗧𝗄 beamed and went pink. We can go together since we're neighbors. Bring a jacket. It might get chilly. Sure thing. Midoriya gave her 2 trembling thumbs up and tried not to jump onto his desk and whoop with joy. This was happening. Something changed in the Uraraka girl recently. Was it Midoriya's great answers on the relationship survey? 𝗂𝗧𝗄 was definitely after something with those questions. Speaking of that survey and results, Midoriya tapped Denki's shoulder. Take Mina, he told the other boy. Denki jumped and went red. Say what? I'm going with 𝗂𝗧𝗄. Make it a group date, Denki. Everyone likes concerts. I don't like music, Denki blurted out. Bull, Bakugo said with another snort. I've seen your iPod playlist before. You do great at a pop idol concert. That's my guilty pleasure. Denki erupted, throwing up both hands. Don't tell anyone that I'm into pop music like 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲. He doesn't have to, because you just did, Shoto pointed out. Denki winced. Busted. So are you taking her or not? Midoriya persisted. Denki turned to Bakugo for a second opinion. And as a response, Bakugo glanced at Midoriya and traced a finger along his throat. The message was clear. Do what Deku says or die. Tact wasn't Bakugo's thing. Denki cleared his throat, his face still red. Hey, Mina, how'd you like to go to that 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲 concert with me? Mina looked sour as she opened up her math book and held it up over her face. No, even Aizawa looked shocked. Denki stared at her with his mouth open, his default expression whenever any sort of challenge came along. Why not? I have homework, Mina said quickly. Momo blinked, then reached over and put a hand on Mina's shoulder. I'll do you a favor, Mina. I'll do your homework for you just this once, so you can have a nice date with your boyfriend. No, Momo looked dismayed as she withdrew her hand. The one time I bend the rules, I don't even get anything for it, she lamented. Gyro patted her back to comfort her. Denki hung his head. I guess it's Ultraman reruns for me tonight. The bell rang to start first period. And Midoriya definitely felt like the 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲 concert lost its edge when he got up with the others. Mina wasn't playing ball at all, and Denki didn't have the nerve to get anything done. Midoriya clenched a fist. There had to be a solution. Somehow, some way. Somehow didn't present itself during that day, though, and both Mina and Denki were definitely avoiding Midoriya in class, even during PE when Coach Yagi put them on the same volleyball team for class. Things were getting pretty icy even without Shoto's quirk. All the same, Midoriya slipped on his jacket and shoes and said bye to his mom as he stepped into the front porch early that evening. Sure enough, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 was waiting for him, eagerly bouncing up and down on the balls of her feet, her hands clasped behind her back as she beamed. Hi, she said, going pink. You look nice. Deku looked down at his jacket, red shoes, and slightly worn jeans. Thanks. You too. 𝗂𝗧𝗄 giggled. Let's get going. She took his hand and led him across the front lawn into the park, humming to herself in the evening light. Something on your mind? Midoriya asked. I mean, besides the concert. It's a surprise, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 said mysteriously. Hey, Deku, when was the last time you went to a live concert? I once saw Tomoyasu Hodai with my mom a few years back in Osaka. Well, really, I've always wanted to hear him live, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 said warmly. Was it fun? Yeah, Midoriya said, recalling that rather lively concert. My mom almost lost her mind when he played her favorite song. Which one? It was. They fell easily into conversation after that. And Midoriya forgot all about his 𝗬𝗓𝗵𝗲 issue as he walked to Yuna Park with his favorite girl in the world. When they got close, Midoriya could hear the chattering crowd already, and he saw the lighting scaffolding over the stage. Lots of people already had glow sticks and other concert stuff. Oh, I think it's almost starting. Let's hurry. 𝗂𝗧𝗄 held Midoriya's hand tight as she jogged to the crowd with the others, and once they bought 2 tickets from the makeshift booth, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 led Midoriya somewhere near the crowd's rear. Where are we going? Midoriya asked breathlessly. I can't see much from back here. Look, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 pointed and waved, and to Midoriya's surprise, there were Denki and Mina, with Denki giving a timid wave back and Mina looking like she wanted to be as small and hard to see as possible. Right next to them, Toru was waving 3 glow sticks in each hand. Izuku, 𝗂𝗧𝗄, there you are. Toru hurried to her 2 friends and wrapped 𝗂𝗧𝗄 in a tight hug. I was afraid you weren't gonna make it, or the group date would be ruined. Don't worry, we wouldn't miss it for the world, 𝗂𝗧𝗄 said with a flustered smile. Toru, you're a strong hugger. Right, that's what everyone says. Toru let 𝗂𝗧𝗄 go and waved around her glow sticks as she spun in a circle. The gang's all here, minus the jerk Katsuki. Nice to see you, Midoriya said, trying to be cautious around the tense Denki-Mina pair. You guys are looking great. Yeah, sure, Mina muttered, looking away. Denki waved again as he made a grimace. Midoriya leaned closer to where he guessed Toru's ear was. How'd you get them here? I've got my methods, Toru said slyly. But you totally owe me 2,000 yen and some teiyaki for this, Izuku. Midoriya recoiled. Why? Call it the fee for my skills. I should have known. The crowd erupted and everyone turned to the stage as the pop idol herself appeared on stage, waving to all her fans. From here, Midoriya could just make out her purple and white outfit, a sleeveless purple blouse with orange highlights, white gloves, a flared-out purple and white dress, and knee-high orange boots and a huge purple bow tie in her wavy blonde hair. Hi, everyone. How are you doing tonight? 𝗬𝗧𝗄𝐵 cried as she waved with her free hand. And the crowd went nuts, most of all the petite Toru. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, you said, putting a hand over her heart. It pains me so much to leave the pop idol business and say goodbye to all my loving fans. But if you love my concert tonight, that'll make it all worth it. She acted flirty with that last word, and everyone, mostly the dudes, went crazy with that last part. Arg, I'm too short, Toru complained as she kept hopping to see over everyone's heads. Izuku, if you weren't here with your girlfriend, I'd totally hop on your back to see better. What the Midoriya nearly choked, and he shared a quick look with 𝗂𝗧𝗄, who was just as red in the face as Midoriya felt. He motioned. We're friends, Toru. Chill out. But, Toru turned to face 𝗂𝗧𝗄, then back to Midoriya. Aren't you guys friends? Midoriya repeated. He just didn't want Toru literally getting on his back. But damn it, that meant friend-zoning himself with 𝗂𝗧𝗄 around. Thanks for the dilemma, Toru. 𝗂𝗧𝗄 looked annoyed and she glanced away. You spread her arms wide and beamed as the lights all focused on her as the starting chords of Tomorrow's Valentine started. And the lights started going in patterns as she started singing. Her voice wasn't especially strong, but she put a lot of passion into it, and she really did sound great. Midoriya kept stealing glances at Mina and Denki, but he didn't see much progress in them so far. Not even Denki, the 𝗬𝗧𝗄𝐵 fan. What was up with those buffoons? They had to cheer up sooner or later. Meanwhile, you got 3 songs in before she held the mic to her mouth and made a pained expression. Beloved fans, I have a confession to make, she announced sadly. I broke up with my boyfriend of 2 years, and to cope, I wrote this new song called Over Yesterday. I hope you like it. And sure enough, it was a breakup song. Totally sad and dismal, and Midoriya realized, wait a minute, were pop idols even allowed to have boyfriends? Well, Yu was publicly known for her rule-bending in the past. Midoriya winced and actually clapped his hands over his ears as Yu shot anti-relationship rays in every direction. Sad and tear-jerking. What was he supposed to do with this? But then her lyrics took a slightly more hopeful turn, about how the narrator of the song didn't regret the relationship, and knew where to find the beauty in all this and still have hope for herself. Well, that was a slight improvement. Midoriya glanced at his friends again to find that both Mina and Denki were gone. Those damn kids. Be right back. Midoriya told Ochako and Toru over the song, then scampered off across the open park when he saw Mina walking away under the light of a lamppost and Denki was going in a different direction. He hurried after Denki and grabbed the other boy's shoulders. Denki stopped and turned to face Midoriya with a pained expression not unlike Yu's. Watcha want, Izuku. Midoriya panted for breath. Come on, Denki. What is this? You're letting Mina just walk away. She doesn't want to be here, man. She doesn't want to be with me. So you've given up on the girl you love. Midoriya put a stern note in his voice. It's not over yet, Denki Kaminari. You measure love by what it can survive. And I think your love for her can survive this. He jabbed his thumb over his shoulder at Mina. Now get going. But now, Denki braced himself and jogged after Mina, with Midoriya trailing away a moderate distance behind the other boy. Midoriya made sure to stay in earshot, though, and he took cover behind a few well-trimmed shrubs and watched as Denki approached Mina under the lamp's light. Mina, Denki said, his voice stronger and more clear than ever. We've got to talk. About what? Forget it. I'm going home. Mina actually turned up her nose and stalked away, until Denki reached out and gently took her hand. Denki, Mina started. Can I just have 5 minutes? Denki implored her. Let me say my piece. Mina turned to face him and withdrew her hand from Denki's. Fine. Denki shoved his hands into his pockets and looked down at his feet. I've kinda been a bad boyfriend lately, haven't I? To say the least. Mina erupted. Denki, what's your deal? It's like you don't even care about our relationship. Or about me. She raised her arms in fury, then lowered them and softened her expression. Tears started welling up in her dark eyes. I wanted to be with you so badly, but I never. She sniffed. I never felt like you were serious about us. It was just goofing off at school and texting about whatever. But, Denki looked cautious. But what? Mina's eyes watered. Denki, don't you love me? What the? Denki looked shocked. Of course I do. Mina, I love you. You're my girl. And I'm your guy. Did you really have to go and ask that out loud? I did. Mina held her fists by her side, eyes leaking tears. I thought that since we were such good friends already, you'd be ready for the next level. I kept waiting for some sign that you were serious about us, but it was just fun and games to you. You were just stringing me along. She whirled and started off again. Midoriya held a hand tight over his mouth, disciplining himself not to get over there and say something. He expected a feud, but this was some serious stuff. Was this the end of Denki Mina? He'd better go after her, a girl's voice said nearby. It was lucky that Midoriya had a hand over his mouth or he would have cried out. What the? He hastily turned and found both Ochako and Toru sharing his shrub cover, both girls watching the drama unfold as the concert kept going in the background. We followed you, Toru whispered. This is too juicy to miss. Oh, I hope he does something, Ochako said tensely, clasping her hands together under her chin. Come on, Denki. For a few seconds, Denki just watched his sobbing girlfriend stalk off. Then, the blonde doofus snapped himself out of it and hurried after her again. Mina, he cried. Mina stopped and turned around, just in time for Denki to wrap her in a lover's embrace and kiss her. Go, Toru whispered with glee. Checkmate, strike, Yahtzee, all of them, apparently, Midoriya thought, watching Denki try and untangle the mess that was his relationship. Denki. Mina wiped her eyes and stared at her boyfriend in shock. What's going on with you? I think I figured it out, Denki said, his voice confident again. Mina, I'm sorry. I think I took our friendship for granted and, well, I was afraid to mess it up with a more serious relationship. I asked you out without being totally ready for the long haul. You didn't deserve that. Mina kept staring at him in awe. For real, for real. Denki still held her, chin resting on Mina's shoulder. I love you, Mina. And I think I'm ready for the next level you wanted. Whatever you want, I'll be with you. And I want it too. Denki, Mina gasped with delight. She closed her eyes and hugged him back, a smile spreading across her face. I love you, too. And I think this was kinda my fault, too. It was. Yeah, maybe I was trying to rush things when you weren't ready. Well, I mean it, Mina insisted. We're young, and so is our relationship. We need time to figure out our rhythm, right? Lots of couples do that. I should have said something. Like what? Mina giggled. Oh, I dunno. But we were on totally different wavelengths, weren't we? And we were so stupid, trying to use surveys to figure this out when we just should have talked. Well, those surveys were kind of informative. Mina kept giggling. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But, she broke up the hug just long enough to kiss her boyfriend. Let's just be real with each other. No more games or cold shoulder. We can just take this at our pace and see where it leads us. I'm with you. Mina beamed. Then let's go back to my place and watch that new teen romance movie that's all the rage. We might get some ideas. Got any snacks and blankets? Lots. Lead the way, babe. Denki let Mina take his hand and gently lead him out of the park and in the direction of her house. And once they were far enough away, both 𝐒𝐴𝐵 and Toru leaped into the air with a loud woohoo. Midoriya stood up too, a wide grin on his face. I knew he could do it. This was your idea, wasn't it, Izuku? Toru asked. Yeah, pretty much. Denki was dragging his feet. I had to get that chimp into shape. Toru giggled. We did it, guys. Up top, based on her jacket sleeve, she was offering a high five, and Midoriya and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 each gave her a solid high five. Hey, there's still time for the concert, Toru added. I hope I didn't miss Lover Quarrel yet. It's my favorite song. Midoriya made a teasing grin. Didn't we just see a lover's quarrel? Toru giggled. Very funny. Come on. Midoriya wasn't terribly interested in finishing the show, but 𝐒𝐴𝐵 took his hand and led him right back to the crowd, and Midoriya was much more interested in that. Her hand felt warm in the cool October dusk, and she stayed very close to him as 𝗬𝗧𝗵𝗲 finished her show. By the time it was over, Midoriya's ears were ringing and he was sure he'd get a few of those songs stuck in his head soon, but he didn't mind at all as he led 𝗒𝐴𝐵 back home, this time him being the one to take her hand. They stood on the Uraraka house front porch, unsure what to say next. 𝗒𝗵𝗲 blushed and looked away. I had a good time. Didn't you? Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for coming with me. But I invited you, Izuku. Oh yeah. 𝗒𝗲 made an embarrassed smile and stared at a spot over Midoriya's shoulder. So, will I see you at school tomorrow? Sure thing. We have that killer test for modern art tomorrow. Ms. Kayama will fuss at us if we get a bad grade. She sure would. 𝗒𝗲 giggled. I like her class. I want to make a good impression on her. I'm sure she already likes you a lot. Really, she doesn't always show it, though. Trust me, she thinks you're great. She's really glad you moved to this school. Well, she could stand to say it more often. I'll make sure she shows her appreciation more. Okay, I like her too, so I'd really like that. It would brighten my day. 𝗒𝗲 looked right into Midoriya's eyes and beamed. Midoriya smiled back. Her day is brightened just by having you around. He felt his heart thumping in his chest and he got the wild urge to just wrap his arms around her and kiss her like Denki had done with his girlfriend. It was quiet out here, with no one to see. I'll see Ms. Kayama, I'll see you tomorrow. 𝗒𝗲 went even redder and fumbled with her door lock. Good night. Good night. Midoriya watched her retreat into her home to hide her embarrassed maiden feelings and wished once again that he had a spine so he could do something. Instead, Midoriya trudged over to his own lawn and slipped inside, not stopping until he relaxed on his bed, hands folded behind his head as he contemplated the ceiling. His phone buzzed. Midoriya checked the text. It was from 𝗒𝗲. Hey, Deku. You weren't really talking about Ms. Kayama, were you? Midoriya grinned and pictured 𝗒𝗲 laying on her own bed, unable to get her mind off him. He texted back his answer right away. Hell no. Settle down, everyone. No one in Class 1A's homeroom really heard Mr. Aizawa, though. They were getting cocky by now, and openly chatted way too loudly in homeroom instead of study. A paper airplane flew through the air and Gyro snagged it with her earphone jack as a stunt, raising cheers. Settle down, everyone, Aizawa barked. No one heard him. It's gonna be so much fun. Toru told everyone who was listening. It's almost time for the school festival. I have ideas for the theme. They're all about stuffed animals, right? Bakugo scoffed. Only 90% of them, Toru shot back, and the last 10% deal with glitter. But, we're supposed to vote on the theme, Momo put in, looking up from her geology notes. Something that represents the class. What would that even be? Kirishima asked. Then he blinked. I've got it. Manliness. But that leaves out all the girls in Deku, Bakugo pointed out. Midoriya kicked Bakugo's shin. Mina burst out laughing. Nice try, Kirishima, she said. Obviously our theme should be movies. I vote for Aliens. That movie gave me nightmares, Toru said, trembling in her seat. Tsuyu patted her back. Then what about Anjiro started? Aizawa stood up on the desk and took a deep breath. Be quiet, he roared. Everyone fell into a stunned silence. Aizawa was giving Present Mike a run for his money. Aizawa tried to look casual as he tossed his hair. I don't like to yell, he said peevishly, but I need your attention. He looked so impressive, standing on his desk with his feet shoulder-width apart. No one dared make a peep, not even Bakugo or Toru. Aizawa cleared his throat. The school's culture festival is due to start on October 31st, on Halloween. Starting today, classes 1A, 1B, 2A, and 3A will make their own exhibitions, and once you lot vote on your theme, you can get started. Everyone gave their homeroom teacher a funny look. We know. We were already talking about it. Gyro cried. We're brainstorming ideas. Ada nodded. Indeed, Mr. Aizawa, I assure you that Class 1A is eagerly preparing for the festival, even if they are a bit too loud about it. He rubbed his ears. Aizawa made an indignant noise. You mean to say I got up here and yelled for nothing? We've got it covered, sir, Kirishima said casually. 100%. Aizawa scrambled off his desk, unrolled his yellow sleeping bag, and crawled into it to once again become the human banana. 𝐻𝐻𝐫 rose to his feet and marched to the class's front. I shall take over as organizer for Class 1 while our teacher rests, he said, glancing at the already asleep Aizawa. He raised a hand. We shall now submit proposed themes and vote on them. Who is first? Everyone was. Midoriya declared his idea at the exact same time as everyone else, and Ida winced. Maybe we should go by seating order, he said. And he picked up a piece of chalk. And I should get some earmuffs, he added to himself. Seat 1 belonged to Yuga Aoyama, who stood on his chair and struck a funny pose. My theme shall be yourself, Gyro muttered. Disco, Aoyama finished. Ida wrote it in katakana. I see. Gyro snorted with laughter. Disco. A disco ball glitters ever so cheerily, Aoyama said. And I love the bell-bottom pants. Magnifique. Anyone who votes for that gets their disco pants crammed down their Bakugo started. Anyway, Ida declared. Seat 2 is Mina Ashido. What is your proposal? James Cameron's Aliens. Mina cheered, waving both arms. Like that cool cargo robot thing, the cute aliens, and funny 1980s quotes. I see, Ida said, clearly regretting this as he wrote that down, too. Seat 3 is 𝐬𝐬𝐴. What is your proposal? Tsuyu cleared her throat. Carnival, ribbit, she said. Snacks and fun games and colorful banners. No one could dislike that. I could, Kirishima muttered. 8 manly. Seat 4 is me, Ida said. I propose that our theme be Autumn Harvest. He wrote that, and he got a few comments of approval. Ooh, that sounds really cute, Mina said. I could dress like a hot cowgirl and Denki can be a scarecrow. Scarecrows freak me out, Denki complained. Can't I be a Hokkaido farmer or something? I'll be a sexy pumpkin. Toru cheered. I'll make the costume myself. Right. Ida adjusted his glasses. Seat 5 is Ochako Uraraka. Ochako scuffed the floor with her feet as she glanced up and thought. Any idea is acceptable, Ida said gently. Bakugo made a wicked grin. Oh, really? He, Minta, and Denki said together. Tsuyu's tongue gently but expertly smacked each one on the head. My theme is Starry Sky, Ochako declared. Like, how you can go on top of a hill with someone you like and bring blankets and snacks, and look up at the moon and stars with binoculars or a telescope and share funny stories. Ooh, that sounds really romantic, Toru said with a sigh. It's kinda narrow as a theme, though, Gyro pointed out. Maybe picnic or outer space to make it a full theme. It's a starting point, Ida said, writing it down. Seat 6 is Mashurawa Jiro. One by one, Ida wrote down everyone's ideas. Some were tame, like Rikido Sato's desserts theme. And Minta, fearing Tsuyu's punishing tongue, timidly suggested a fun on the beach theme to take people's mind off the hot weather. Meanwhile, 𝗵𝐺 Takoyami suggested an Edgar Allan Poe theme, which was fine for the season, but no one sounded too interested. And no one whatsoever wanted Kirishima's weightlifting theme. And Mizo Shoji's clean closet theme was laughed right out of the room. All right, all 20 suggestions, Ida declared. He tapped his chalk on the board as Aizawa kept slumbering. Class, we shall now vote. Write down which theme you would like to use. The voting was pretty fast, and Midoriya soon saw why. He rolled his eyes when Ida tossed all the papers into the air. You all voted for your own ideas. Ida roared. His glasses glinted. Please do not do that. But I have the coolest idea, Denki insisted. Ida passed out new papers. Please vote properly this time, class. We are supposed to be the pride of our year. When he got the votes back and read them, Ida seized his head and wailed to the high heavens. Why you guys did it again? But I want to do a stuffed animals theme, Toru cried. Oh, grow up, Gyro sniped. Be nice to her. Momo snapped back. We have to do Edgar Allan Poe. I can be the raven in a play, 𝗵𝐺 insisted. Yeah, 'cause it's only got one line for your dumb ass to memorize, Bakugo teased. 𝗵𝐺 made an annoyed noise. I've memorized that entire poem, you know. Oh yeah, 𝗵𝐺 cleared his throat. Once upon a midnight dreary. While I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, Bakugo snorted. Your face is forgotten lore. That doesn't even make sense, Shoji pointed out. Neither does anyone around here. Shoji nodded. Now that makes sense. Everyone, please, Ida barked. We cannot act like little children and argue all day. If we cannot agree on a theme, Class 1 will be ruined. And your reputation, the part you really care about, Zero said snidely. Ida went pink. At any rate, perhaps I should look up common festival themes and we can vote among them. There was an instant uproar. It's aliens or nothing, Mina demanded, pouting. No, the raven, 𝗵𝐺 put in. Fitness at the gym, Kirishima roared, cupping his hands around his mouth. Starry Sky with friends, Ochako cried, standing on her seat and waving her arms. I second Ochako's idea, Midoriya declared. He just couldn't say no to Ochako's enthusiasm. Hey, Ochako's idea has 2 votes, Denki realized. Does that mean she wins? Nope. To counter Ochako's newfound lead, everyone else started voting in pairs. so the top 10 ideas survived with 2 votes each. This is nonsense. Momo got up and haughtily stalked to the front of the class. She stood by Ada and gently took hold of his shoulders. Perhaps we should roll dice or draw straws to see what idea is chosen, so we can get a move on. Tenya just wants us to make some progress. Haha, girlfriend to the rescue, Toru teased. I should have known. That's not it. Ada cried as he made his stern arm movements again. Momo Yaoyorozu is nuts about you, you blockhead, J.I.R.O said with a cunning grin. She pointed at him with her earphone jacks. Momo went pink, too. Oh, let's just choose a theme. Then the bell rang. Oh, time for first period, Aizawa said, rising from his sleeping bag and rubbing his eyes. What theme did everyone choose? None of them, Ada groaned. Perhaps I should move to another class, or another school, Aizawa grunted. Hurry up and choose a theme for Class 1A's part of the festival. What are the ideas we've got? Everyone wound up being late for first period as the top 10 ideas fought to the death, but first period was halfway over by the time Aizawa threw up his hands in defeat. Thanks a lot, kids. Now I have to decide for you, Aizawa said bitterly. This is not what I signed up for. It kinda is, Minta noted. Aizawa sat at his desk's computer and typed something in. I'm searching for high school festival theme. The first result wins. Kirishima gasped and bolted to his feet. Wait, what search engine are you using? That might make all the difference, Mr. Aizawa. Aizawa stared at the screen. I'm on Ask Jeeves. There was a stunned silence. What? Everyone roared. I thought that dumb website was shut down, 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗁 said with awe. That funny butler is still there, Toru exclaimed. I thought he was kinda hot. You're weird, J.I.R.O grumbled. There should be one with bikini girls, Minta said, salivating, who take off their tops if you ask them. Tsuyu gave him a good tongue slap. Mr. Aizawa should look up ways to dispose of a delinquent. Ribbit, I'm not going anywhere, Minta said with an evil cackle. He ducked under Tsuyu's next tongue attack in the nick of time. No, try Bing, Momo told Aizawa. Forget it. Bing is for old people who think they're ahead of the curve, Kirishima cried. Use Yahoo. Yahoo is for slackers who eat Doritos and instant ramen, Zero snorted. Aizawa, try searching with Google. That's for even older people who don't know any other search engines, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 mocked him. Ochako scratched her head. Where on earth are all these stereotypes coming from? Welcome to our school, Midoriya said with a bracing smile that Ochako returned. Okay, I got it, Aizawa declared. Ada stiffened. What shall our theme be, Mr. Aizawa? He fell on his hands and knees in dismay. Tell me so I can finally go to first period. Aizawa stood up. We shall have a maid cafe. There was another stunned silence. Did that make 3 so far? That's such a cliche. Mina whined. Everyone does that. And it feels kinda weird to have all the guys looking at you the whole time. That's what we're doing, Aizawa said with a shrug. They could at least be zombie girls, J.I.R.O said casually. Then she snapped her fingers. That's it. Scary maid cafe for Halloween. Everyone cheered. I want to be a zombie maid, Toru added, with a blood-stained and dirty dress and tea dyed red. You know, Mina added slyly, to spice things up. We could add a few butlers, too. Shoto, you'd look so gentlemanly pouring tea for a girl. All the girls looked at him with great interest. Shoto looked up from his history book. What are we talking about? You can be a hot butler for the maid cafe. Something for the girls to like, Toru told him. Shoto blinked. What cafe? It's our class's theme for the festival, Momo explained impatiently. Weren't you listening? Oh, I guess it's the right time of year for that, Shoto said innocently. What other themes have we considered? Can I add one? Now there was a fourth stunned silence. You were ignoring us this entire time. Everyone roared. But you voted, Shoji pointed out. What did you think we were talking about? Themes for a school play or something, Shoto said. Look, I'm trying to study. He's lost in his own little world, Midoriya thought with awe. That Shoto Todoroki. He had concentration like a laser beam. So are you gonna be a hot butler or not? Mina insisted. Shoto looked annoyed. Make Denki do it. And have other girls slobbering over my man. I don't think so, Mina retorted. Then she smiled sweetly. Come ooh-and, Shoto. You'd look so great in a Victorian-style butler outfit, pouring tea. I can imagine you on a manga cover now. Since when is there manga about Victorian butlers? There's manga for everything, 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗁 said impatiently. Come on, half and half. Just do it already and make the girls squeal over you. But, do it, do it, do it, do it. Everyone chanted until Shoto gave up. Fine, he snapped. But someone else better do it with me, or I'm blowing it off. I nominate Izuku Midoriya. Midoriya was sure he felt a spotlight shine right on him and he went bright red. Me. Why? Shoto shrugged. You're so polite and helpful. You're already halfway there. Like heck I'll do it. I get self-conscious, Midoriya cried. Like right now. Ochako patted Midoriya's shoulder. Please, she said sweetly. It'll be fun. I can help make your outfit. You'll look so handsome, Mr. Midoriya the butler. Midoriya bolted to his feet and threw out his arms. I'm a butler. Everyone clapped. A scary butler, remember? Gyro added, barely hiding an amused smile. For Halloween, choose a monster and be a butler version of it. You too, Shoto. Very well, Shoto said, going back to his book. If everything's finally decided, Aizawa said, you all might as well stay here until second period. I'll explain things to your math teacher. Everyone happily chatted ideas for the scary maid cafe until the bell for second period rang. And Midoriya had a spring in his step as he walked with Ochako out in the hallway. I'll have to choose a good monster, he told her with a happy grin. Ochako beamed. Yeah, I can borrow my mom's sewing kit. Come over to my house sometime and we'll get you fixed up. Midoriya's heart leaped. You're inviting me to your place. Why not? It'll be so much fun. I can make snacks, too. Best festival theme ever. Midoriya smiled wide and barely even noticed when students from Class 1B happened by. Hi, everyone, Itsuka Kendo said with a happy wave. What theme did you decide on for your part of the festival? Scary Maid Cafe, Ida said, saluting. It shall be most proper and terrifying. Oh, that's so cool, Itsuka gushed. We're doing a haunted carnival. Took us just a minute to agree on it. Yosuawace added, hands in his pockets. It's gonna be fantastic. I bet you guys didn't need long to come up with your theme, either. Midoriya and the rest of Class 1 gave each other mixed looks of dismay, guilt, and amusement. Kind of, Mina said weakly. We spent a solid hour and a half debating it, Kirishima said, puffing out his chest. Because we're tough. That doesn't make sense, Kirishima. Ribbit, Tsuyu pointed out. Itsuka Kendo nodded and was polite enough not to comment on any of this. Well, work hard, everyone. See you at the festival. She and the others walked off toward their English class while Midoriya resumed daydreaming about what kind of outfit Ochako would help him make. He could be a werewolf, or a vampire, or a kappa, or a mummy. And the whole time, he'd be in Ochako's bedroom. While Ochako ran her hands over his body to measure him with her tape measure. Just the two of them. Oh no, Tsuyu, Midoriya said nervously. What is it? If I get carried away, I need a tongue slap to knock some sense back into me, okay. Tsuyu looked confused but nodded. You got it, Ribbit.